Hello, and welcome to the second last of our Tales of Middenheim. The last one, well, you're going to see what's going to happen with what I presume is going to be Birdie. Ooh. But before we worry about that, let's find out what lovely people are going to be diving into the great joys of the city of the White Wolf today. It is, of course, everyone's favourite priests. Clerics. There is a gender-neutral term. I should have just gone with that. Clerics, who are ready to hit the town. So, when does this take place? This is day 7 of the good old Carnival of Middenheim. And to set our scene, Ume and Luitpold have just left the household where they are staying. The ex-champion, as I do like to refer to him, poor chap, all weighed up. Oh, poor old Schmiedhammer. The ex-champion of the Graph, who is, of course, insensible at this early hour. At this point, we're well before they're setting up for what is going to be another day's worth of the finals of the water polo out in the Grafplatz. It's mostly just slightly dirty, muggy water, some of which is presumably going to be resolved somehow. A bunch of early arrivals who have already come and camped themselves out before the event occurs, and a host of just general other, let's say, Platz goers, including, for example, a small state army unit that is currently drilling over at the far side, a good 50 people working away at various forms with a over in the far right from where you are, in the opposite corner of the Platz itself. Luitpold is moving with a certain amount of purpose because he's got jobs to do today, and you, good old Ume, you may know the name, I clearly don't, is hurrying after, yet to be aware of why Luitpold has decided to hike it out of here first thing in the morning, holding his breakfast. He's so keen to get moving. Indeed, you almost missed him. You had things that you wanted to say to him, and he's like, I gotta go. So, I gotta go, boy, and I got some things to say, girl. That is where you begin. You are, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, aiming to head to the south end of the city, down towards the Wind. So we're going to be making our way over the Platz, down through Ulrichsmund, down a bunch of steps, over the main roads down there, down towards the main gates at the front. So it's the city itself. We take our side elevation. You got the palace all the way up there, huge Temple of Ulrich there. It just sort of goes down and down and down and down, with the Wind all the way down closer to where I am, this one. And you're just making your way, winding down eventually to the Wind. It is quite a long walk, hence the early in the morning decision to get moving.
And you want to avoid those crowds.
And you do want to avoid those crowds. Fortunately, if we get past the main thoroughfare, once you're past that down into the Wind itself, the crowds are almost certainly going to be way low, as in there won't be any. They're all going to be up in the main, let's say, event areas up in the core of the city and on the main thoroughfares, which you will be off, hopefully, relatively swiftly. So that's where we are.
Did we leave so early that the papers hadn't arrived yet? Like the newspapers?
Oh, the newspapers will have arrived, yes.
Cool. Did she get a chance to maybe have a look before Luitpold, like, hightailed it there? Or could she buy one on the way?
Grab one with you if you wish.
Yeah, she'll have one in her hand. She's like trying to fast walk behind Luitpold.
Something for you to unravel. Now, the primary broadsheet that you've got is literally a broad sheet that is folded over. It's got no extra pages, it's got no extra bits, it's just the journal of everything that's happened the previous day.
That's a really funny mental image of you, just kind of like...
Quite, and it's not small, it's quite a big one, folded over, and they often fold and fold and fold again as they sell it on out. It's not like in Altdorf, where they've got a more sophisticated process for many of their common journals. And indeed, what is down in Altdorf, there are newspapers. The journals here are a little bit, well, still printed. So, you know, they are turn out quickly, but they haven't got necessarily the same sophisticated network in place. Or at least not for the ones that you've seen.
Sure.
And you're definitely not just thinking Middenheim is rubbish and it's great.
Well, I didn't get my burnt nose, my nose burnt off. That's the way around in Altdorf.
Which is worth noting. Her nose.
I mean, can Luitpold even tell? She's pretty faint to him, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. That's a very good point, isn't it? No,
Yeah.
no, you can't. You'll be
I've not
utterly,
thought so.
blissfully unaware.
I mean, he might
of
have heard Gerhardt talking about it
of
last
the
night. I suppose.
wincing pain that she's. We can presume you came back late.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The wincing pain. You came back, got about 5-6 hours sleep, woke up early.
Not even. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Less than that, in fact. Yeah, good point. Woke up early and you're off. So yeah, no idea at all. But it is sore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luitpold, wait up! I can't open this and walk faster.
Oh, sorry, to me.
Give me a second, and then she'll quickly have a look around. Because if the news she's hoping she doesn't see is on there, I'm assuming it'll be quite big. So she'll have a scan through. Is there a fight between our Ulrich and the dead father?
Nope.
Written anywhere? Okay,
No
cool.
mention in the slightest. As you're scanning over, taking a good 5-10 minutes worth of your initial walk as you're marching along, and she's rummaging through the sheets, going down into the smaller print, going where no mention of it at all.
Okay.
What we'll probably do to avoid us getting separated in the crowd is we'll do the pretending that you're leading me thing, even though I can see where I'm going and you can't because you're looking. So I'll actually be guiding you, but with my hand on your shoulder behind, looking like you're guiding me.
Love it.
Yeah, that's really funny. She'll sigh. She'll put it away and go. It's a long story, but sorry, I had to check something. I'll tell you about it in a second. Did you?
Have you been up to something scandalous?
Yes. Did you get our message yesterday? We left you a note.
No.
Okay.
I didn't get back until quite late. It was well after dark.
Okay. Well.
Also, I can't really read notes.
Well, we left it with Marguerite, so she could have.
Oh, I haven't spoken to the lady.
Okay.
You were in late and out early, so not a surprise you missed it.
Okay, well, I can give you a rundown. Lots happened yesterday. I was out with Alamanawai. Is there anything? Did anything happen to you while you were out?
Well, yeah, that's why I'm leaving so early. I had a vision last night, late last night. I went down to the temple down in the one down in the south where which is safe. I felt I needed to pray, to reflect on everything that's been happening. And the culmination of that, at the end of that, was I had a vision, and it was clear. I don't know exactly when it was, but it was Nils, and he was standing over Arthur in the forge, and he was covered in Arthur's blood.
Oh.
But we've spoken with Arthur since then.
But definitely, enough blood that he was dead, or could he have just been injured?
I mean, I don't know. And also, maybe it's not a literal vision. Maybe it's one of those more metaphorical ones, but it felt pretty literal. Certainly enough. I've been wanting to try and find Emberfist anyway, to try and get a timeline of what happened, to try and work out when Nils was taken.
Okay.
Because he was with Lucas, and then he was with Arthur and Lucas.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, he and Lucas were back at Schmiedhammer's, but he wasn't himself.
Well, I was hoping to speak to Arthur if he is who he is, because I had a feeling he might be, involved with the Ranaldons, and I really need to speak to a priest.
But didn't you say the Ranaldons in this town weren't to be trusted?
Well, that's why I wanted someone who seemed to be part of the cult to ask, instead of going to the obvious places like the gambling dens, because I'm assuming those places are full of other cultists.
I would just be cautious in case he is a member of a different cult.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out. But no, it's handy. I'll come with you.
Excellent.
But yeah, there is actually quite a lot for me to update you. And I think probably I'll just do like headlines of things I tell him rather than tell him all of it, because otherwise we'll spend hours. Headlines. Headlines.
So you did do something scandalous.
So rather than go in depth into
Yeah.
the long, prolonged discussion in here, let us first go. A Sigmarite was assassinated, and this Sigmarite was clearly assassinated by, they presumed, the preceptor of the order.
Wow.
Which is for you both deep in terms of what it means and also validating in terms of your concerns about the temple. You were afraid that if you went there, you would die. You just had that.
He was convinced. He wasn't afraid. He was 100%
afraid, convinced.
Yeah.
Quite, exactly. And was certain that it would not turn out well for him, and he wasn't sure why.
Yeah, it was bad.
And as it turns out, someone who arrived and potentially was a threat to something was immediately, not with any delay, removed. And they were prepared for it. And this is the details I think he's quite likely to quickly chew over. What happened? How long did it take? If it was a shot, that means it was already prepared. The logic is quite clear. That means that they were basically waiting for Templars to arrive, and they were removing them.
And the signal was after. He didn't have to do anything for him to get shot. Like somebody was out there looking for him. Also, on a side note, if we really need a fast horse, she likes oats. So
I think a lot of horses like oats, but
yeah, but like she looked like a really good horse. Anyway, I do wonder if like his stuff that looked really like actually blessed and things, whether it's gone to the right hands. Maybe that's something we want to think about, getting it back to the right people.
yeah, I mean, it'll presumably be in the temple now.
Yeah.
And you would expect, given, I mean, you don't know the Templars that well, they're not your order, but you would suspect that they've gone out and gathered everything up, taken it back, and it will be allocated to others within the order. That is how they work, which you presume is the case. However, there is obviously another potential issue here, and that's that if the preceptor is something else, I mean, yeah, quite. You have no idea what would actually occur with it. In fact, it wouldn't surprise you if you were to go down to your worst conclusions. Let's say he's a cultist. He might be just a bad egg who's got weird things. Maybe he just hates this person and they've been waiting for him to return for ages. There's lots of crazy theories you can come up with.
Or he's been blackmailed.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but let's just say that
he's been tricked into believing that the other guy was a cultist.
Exactly. Well, we know how these things can sometimes happen. You have yourself realized that what was your first thoughts and conclusions about a matter often turn out not to be the case because things are complicated. So, presuming it's simple, and he's just a bad cultist person, it's quite likely that whatever artifacts are there are now destroyed, just gone. It depends, though, upon how broken that aspect of the cult is. Because if he's the only one, it's very difficult to destroy this stuff in a way that doesn't look like you're purposely trying to destroy this stuff.
He might lock it up for safekeeping.
Indeed. Because he's ranking, he almost certainly could. So it's possible. You think the most likely outcome, according to your quick and admittedly potentially inaccurate thought process, is that it has probably been locked up or just claimed and passed over to the rest of the cult as is required. But there is an outside possibility that if he is as bad as he potentially could be, that there will be anti-consecrations, for want of a better description, flipping the
desecrations.
Desecrations, that's the one, of those artifacts.
He had like 6 guns. Maybe you could like roll those to do definitions instead.
Toss the guns.
and if I crit, they go off and shoot an enemy right between the eyes.
That was clearly a bad sort.
Yes. It wasn't just a gun I randomly threw at somebody.
Or like Russian roulette.
Don't want to fumble that roll.
And if it becomes the bullet and like shoots, then it's the bad guy.
Kiss of White Gamble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Almeno said that if she gets arrested again, she might be able to drop a note to pass on the message that he was trying to get across about the mutated children and stuff.
That's right. That was the reason he was going to the palace.
Yeah.
The mutated children. Yeah. Which is another plot point worth just readdressing, just to make sure if there's anything you want to say, you bring it up. And that's that there was apparently an entire village's worth of mutants in place out there. And not good mutants, bad sorts. And he was off to inform. Now, that could have been what set him off to be killed. It could have been just who he was. Whether it was the information, whether it was something else, it's difficult to pin down. Or just a rival.
Yeah.
It is worth noting, though, that in Middenheim, the concept of being shot is generally perceived as a dishonourable way to go. They do not like, in general, ranged weaponry, except for maybe a bow that you've crafted yourself meticulously and taken some time and care over. And then for hunting. When it comes to people, you're meant to face them.
So this was a vile, dishonourable
It really was.
assassination.
Now, Ulricans do have the concept, which is always worth bringing up just so that we've got it very clearly in our minds, of the ambush. They very much believe that an ambush is an honourable way of potentially taking down a foe, particularly a foe that is perhaps very powerful, so you can gain an advantage. But ambushes have so many issues wrapped up with them. Some Ulricans disagree with the concept of an ambush entirely. They think that you should just pull yourself out of the shadows and challenge the other person. They believe that the concept of the ambush deserves to be left with the Ranaldans. And it's a Ranaldan maneuver, and it's the sort of thing that Ranaldans would do, not Ulricans. Where other Ulricans very much believe that it's a way of gaining an advantage over dishonourable foes. But if your foe is entirely honourable, then perhaps an ambush is an incorrect way of proceeding. It's a theological debate. And individuals, inevitably, will ignore all theology and just stab someone in the back according to their own individual needs. Because we all know that religion, I mean, no matter how many commandments may be laid down, they pretty much only pay attention to the ones that they feel apply to them. And it only, in terms of our Warhammer side, really matters if you're a blessed servant. And then it really matters.
It's also interesting as well, like, obviously Luitpold is not an expert in black powder weapons.
Yeah.
But he is aware that, like, broadly speaking, they're not the most accurate.
Yeah.
So for him to be taken out by a single
got
shot...
Lord of the Empire.
He does.
Excellent. Do a Lord of the Empire roll, please.
Actually, does he?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he does have Lord of the Empire.
You might have had it before.
That feels like an oversight. That definitely feels like he used to have it in his old build. Am I really not?
Oops.
He's got an open lore local in his current career, but I don't have, any XP right
Drop
now.
1% in it. Quick!
He's definitely had it. In fact, he's got lore Ancient Empire.
That's not going to do
lore
for this.
Middenheim, lore Ubersreich.
Neither of those are going to do for this either.
Lore Dwarfs, lore History.
The lore history. Lore history I'll let a roll on. Because that can ping out something that's potentially of use there.
We're not stressed, so advantage. So, it's only one success level that he'll get, but...
I haven't dropped the really big stuff yet.
Yeah. I'm just deciding. So,
I mean, does he not know enough to know it's probably a Hockler long rifle? That's what I want.
I think that the answer to that is probably yes. And what we will bring up is an assassination that was believed to have been commissioned by one of the Ottoman emperors quite some time ago. They, at that point, ruled, and still do, rule Hochland, I suppose, because Talabheim rules Hochland. And the Hochland assassins, as it was referred to in the particular book that you referred to, were entirely under their control. And they were sent from the woods up in the lower regions of the Middle Mountains, and they were sent into Altdorf, where they used to sit at the top of Sigmar bell towers and pick off people. No one had any idea that they could do it. No one had any idea what the sound was. No one had any idea that it was, in fact, an assassination going on from approximately 500, 600, 700 paces away. It was beyond their ability to put together what it was, because it was just a crack amongst the thousands of other noises that were happening across the city.
And with all the smoke and fog, the cloud of black powder would instantly be
Yeah,
lost.
quite.
So,
and
yeah.
they just didn't know to look for
Yeah.
it, because at the point of the book that you were thinking on, at that point, the Hochland long rifle was a relatively new innovation. Black powder was deeply inaccurate as a weapon. It works very well in large banks. So you just fire shots forward and they might go spiraling off in different directions, but it's still going to hit the enemy.
Yeah.
But when it's on an individual one-on-one, and the Hochlanders had figured a way around it. And the reason why it was of note in your particular book was because 17 Hochlanders, according to the last little note in there, died. Not because of the assassinations, but because they refused to give the Ottoman emperors the method that they used to create their rifles. And they were, at this point, basically paid assassins, but they refused to explain how it worked. It was a unique, let's say, technological advancement that they had managed to organize up in the Middle Mountains.
And it remains something that is rare. Like, it's not mass produced. It's
you're not aware of lots, but so
the factories in Null and the factories in Altdorf aren't spewing out hundreds of these things.
no,
so
not that you're aware of.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And also people who can use them, I'm assuming, are quite rare.
I mean, that's interesting, and that suggests whether it's a paid assassin or whether
Sigmarite Tower,
Yeah.
bang. I mean, there is similarities
Yeah.
between that story and what occurred.
If it's something so rare, perhaps there is only one person who is able to do this, and if we manage to get rid of them, suddenly we're really affecting their firepower. Maybe if we have time, we can go look at it.
Yeah.
Carefully
from the shadows.
Which brings
Not going
me
in
to
the temple.
my next point.
Or I mean, from the sounds of it, going in the temple's not the problem. Leaving again is the problem.
You want to be bait.
Not really.
Big point. Damn it.
Damn it.
We've proved our hypothesis.
Yay! I looked at the tower. There was a thing. And it does bring me to my next point. A lot happened. We went to the Ulrican temple as well, and a lot happened. And you actually might not be able to see this, but I'm quite badly hurt from the flame.
You didn't try and go into it, did you?
I didn't want to, but I was almost compelled.
I have heard of that happening.
Yes. If we saw someone who actually did want to go in and actually went in and died, it was horrible. It was like a horrible day yesterday. I'm definitely never going back. But I think I saw some kind of... I don't have the words for it. I don't know enough about religions and over here and stuff, but I saw a cat with wings, like furred wings, come to help me when we were trying to get out, and there was a demon.
Yeah, that's fucking obscure. Okay, so that one's going to be
theology,
and this difficulty is high. It's 6. I'm sorry to say.
Why?
You can't.
Unless I crit
can't
it.
crit. Yeah, it's a very obscure piece of
Papa
knowledge.
wants a crit. Papa did not get a crit.
It's a pass though.
Assuming I'm not stressed out.
Yeah. We're just chilling, walking. Quite happy for you to have advantage in that.
Yeah.
You got more than enough time to have a little think about it as you're going along. You have obviously heard that cats are often associated with renown. Often. But the idea of pardon?
I have a book about it.
Quite. But winged cats beyond anything you've heard.
I mean, and this is genuinely not based on any knowledge because I genuinely don't know a lot about Ronald. But my immediate assumption is other gods who have animals that are sacred to them have like divine servants almost.
Yes, they do.
And so it could be something like that.
Like, for example, you know that Mor sends the good old death ravens to take souls to wherever they're going to go.
And he's heard stories about white wolves.
Exactly, the white wolves of Ulrich. Yeah. That's common in and around Middenheim. The stories of the white wolves of Ulrich are very common. Where in the cult of Sigmar, they generally replace much of that sort of mythology with saints. So they've got blessed priests and priestesses and clerics and monks and nuns of various types who have done great deeds in their life, who were clearly blessed by Sigmar and sometimes have returned to their individual places. Many of them, particularly a lot of the older abbeys or older monasteries, have got tales of come particular event A, our great founder will return. And this is a common motif amongst many Sigmarite beliefs. Sigmarites do have their own blessed creature, so to speak. Griffins are seen to be a great power of strength and something that has been for Luitpold a point of theological interest, purely because he doesn't know why. He literally doesn't know why. There is no clear reason why the griffin would stand out as anything more or less important than another, but he does know it's intrinsically linked through to the cult. The Grand Theologianist himself has a great griffin that he has upon his chest, the jade griffin.
I mean, that could be the reason why.
It could be that, but where did that come from?
Well, maybe that predated it.
And he doesn't know the tale.
Has it come through osmosis? Has it been Sigmar's associated with the Empire, Griffins became associated with the Empire, so therefore Griffins became associated with Sigmar?
Yeah,
and,
what's the root?
And particularly the fact that Sigmar became a god after he died. So he founded the Empire, ruled the Empire, died. What, 50 years later, Hellstrom came along and said,
Johan Hellstrom was about 23 years later. Oddly specific.
Well, that's right. He ruled for 50 years.
Yes, he did.
So like
73 guys. So 78. Someone will correct me out there.
So it could be that the griffin by then had become an imperial symbol, and
could very well.
I don't suppose lower ancient empire might have something on that.
Yeah, how many advances you got?
Only 10.
Yeah, well, you can take a roll, see where it lands. Why not?
Again, it's a pass, but
I think it does nothing more than reinforce his interest in the story that he doesn't have an answer to, because his lower ancient empire doesn't come up with all the grand tales of Sigmar stroke griffins. They just don't really exist. There is like a mention here, a great griffin was terrifying a particular area, but that's just a mention of a historical thing that might not even have come from Sigmar's time.
And also is a bad portrayal of a griffin, not a good portrayal of a griffin.
It's definitely not a positive
It's the
one.
positive portrayal of a griffin.
So it's something that he doesn't really know the answer to.
I mean, there's a horrible little dark part of his brain. Thinks he might have an answer, but he doesn't want to open that dark corner. He's going to let that dark corner go away. He's heard that stories can change. He doesn't want to think about what that might mean.
Dark corners of the mind. He definitely doesn't have any of those. So
it's pretty much all dark.
A tale is told about a somewhat garbled version, I presume, because you're somewhat excited and unsure about the whole affair anyway.
And were you here 2 years ago by any chance?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, but you might not want to go to the temple because they think there's someone who looks like you, a blessed priest who went in and then caused a scene and then didn't remember it, so they might blame you for it, and he's not welcome back.
Right.
So, just as a heads up. But the reason why I was looking at the broadsheet was because potentially the Den Father is dead / injured now. Our Ulrich fought him on our behalf.
Okay, Lord Middenheim.
Wow. Wow.
He's a scary man.
It's a pass, but I've only got 10 advances. So
so that will give you the core deets. Challenges in the Cult of Ulrich are common, but ranking challenges are relatively rare. The core reason that they're relatively rare is because when someone has achieved a rank, that comes with respect, and respecting that rank means you just don't challenge them, even when perhaps a priest or a Den Father or some ranking individual in the Cult of Ulrich reaches an age where you could clearly take them out if you wish to do so. You just don't, because it's rude.
Yeah.
It's just rude.
And dishonourable as well.
And really dishonourable. However, sometimes theological debate amongst the Cult of Ulrich reaches the point where the debate reaches its natural conclusion, which is a challenge. And the Cult of Ulrich, unlike the Cult of Sigmar, is resolved through challenges. So if you wish to become High Priest, you've got to take out the current High Priest, or they've got to die, and you have to take out all your other potential competitors to become the next high priest. Becoming a den father presumably goes through a very similar process. Becoming any of the other various ranks of the cult of Ulrich, which you know is relatively simple in comparison to yours, again, similar process. Ulrich himself, right at the very top, got there through defeating the previous one, at least officially. What often happens is they just die in the position, often at war, or if they reach their old age, they're just left until they eventually die. It's very rare for them to actually be challenged. And you'll often find in the cult of Ulrich, if there is someone who is going to do that, they get beaten down to a position where they can't challenge. So their peers will come up to them and say, "You're not doing that." "Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to challenge Ulrich." "Well, we challenge you." And then they lose their rank. And they're no longer in a position where they're allowed to challenge Ulrich.
Nice.
So you'll find that there is this almost, honesty program going on amongst the good old ranks of the cult of Ulrich. So an actual challenge going down between them is actually something that sounds vaguely to you uncommon, unexpected, and
but perhaps
dangerous.
Not, because his vision also suggested that temple had also been infiltrated by cultists.
Correct.
So the chance that either one or both of them might be corrupted or might be being influenced by people that have been corrupted.
Indeed. The big mistake that is often made by, let's be honest, PCs, is to presume the corrupted individual is one directly in front of them rather than the one whispering in their ear.
The power behind the throne.
Yes!
Almost.
You beat me to it!
He said the thing! He said the thing! He said the thing! Wrong credits. We're done.
And indeed, it's something that you've been relatively suspicious of throughout the course of this, although it's become pretty clear who the big bad guy is. You're still not convinced that big bad guy is necessarily as big and as bad as he very much looks like he is.
And it's complicated by the fact we know there are at least 2 separate groups of cultists.
Yep.
I mean, there are certainly more, but there are at least 2 that are actively engaged and also in conflict with one another. And then the others may or may not be aware of their activities and may or not be on side or in direct opposition or waiting, biding their time, or like there's just too much that we don't know.
Correct.
To start joining dots. Not to mention the danger of potentially joining those dots as well.
But anyway, I caused a lot of theological debate unwittingly.
It's good. Theological debate's good.
A demon fox came into the temple. Then Father was not happy. Killed the demon fox. I let's just say had a crisis of faith. But then the potentially divine servant of Renal showed up, and I feel like it's helped me choose Renal again, even though it's been difficult and hard, and I don't really know what I'm doing. But I feel closer, and also I feel like I disappointed Renal, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. But the cat attacked the fox, and it started unraveling, as demons do, and so I killed it. But the Den Father wasn't happy with me because he blamed me for the fox being there. And
perhaps not entirely unfairly.
and I think we're only alive because of the princess writing a letter to our Ulrich. And so he's taken our side, essentially. And he said if he dies, it's probably gonna be on the broadsheets. But if he doesn't, then they're not going to print the fact what happens to the Den Father.
Yeah.
So to keep an eye out. And that's why I was looking through.
And the challenges won't always necessarily be to the death. Like, if our Ulrich beat him, you're like, you're beaten. Get back in your...
And Ulrichans,
roll over, show the belly.
Are quite unlike, for example... Now, you don't necessarily want to admit it, but many Sigmarites are really filled with pride. It's one of the core sins that lie at the heart of... that lie at the heart of the cult. Largely because they carry such an important, let's say, component of the empire. And they are responsible for it, which leads them often down the path of thinking they're the only voice in a particular room. And that pride can be deeply damaging. Ulrichans, for all they may have pride, are very used to just bottling it up whenever they lose. Indeed, may have been an enemy before, once they've had a fight, that fight, regardless of how it's resolved, resolves the issue between them.
And I suppose as well, like, sometimes somebody might make a challenge that they know they'll lose just to make a point that they're making a challenge.
Definitely.
So it could even be that the Den Father just needed in order to maintain his status, because Den Father's responsible for the actual temple,
Mhm.
right? So in order to maintain his status as the one who's responsible for that, he's essentially lodging a formal complaint with Ulrich.
Yeah.
But the way they would lodge a formal complaint is with their fists
Mhm.
rather than with a letter.
I wish we could have seen that fight because that Den Father was strong, so
I mean, I
it would
imagine
have
they both
been
are.
a hell of a fight. And Ulrich was very scary, but I made him laugh, so that was okay.
That's good.
And he made us leave through a brothel, and and
Ulrichans.
what was the other thing?
Vows of chastity.
Oh yeah,
My sainted ass.
he told me a story. It was the 17th fable of like the Ulrichans like main text apparently. So I remembered it so that you could like look it
Not
up
even worth
later.
rolling.
Not even worth rolling.
If
you have
you
not
wanted
memorized Ulrich Creed.
But the reason why I thought it was interesting was because it mentions Ulrich and his sister and how a cat went to warn Ulrich in the guise of his sister, because of course, to not that she was gonna trick him. He didn't believe her, and then later on, like slept with somebody, and then it turned out to be his twin sister. Apparently, is the story very abridged, obviously. But that gives us more proof about the thing you had read about Ulrich's sister, right? And then the other thing, and then she'll look around to make sure that nobody's listening, and then she'll move closer to Luitpold and go, I heard a voice. After I was burnt by the flame, apparently I was gone for like an hour and a half, like frozen solid. And in that time, I heard a woman's voice saying, because I remember this, right? Find my brother, be my brother. And when I woke up, I got the sense that the flame it felt a lot like the gates in the pond that we have, where you could go into the aether, and it was this feeling that it was blocked like a dam, maybe, and that it was waiting for it to be released, and that people like my father potentially could do it, but obviously not to a good effect. And whatever is on the other side isn't the male Ulrich figure that people are saying it is. So I don't know if it's his twin sister and what that means or anything like that, but that's the voice I heard. And I'm worried that it was trying to trick me into releasing it. That feels so much better to have told someone that.
That's a lot to digest. I mean, Alan has been banging on for ages that there might be something in there that isn't Ulrich. Like, do you remember when I told her that Sigmar walked through the flame and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you."
Yeah. I mean, it's so...
And that could have just been, your typical elven arrogance, but
well, so
that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong.
I have a feeling that potentially the people who walked through and came back out were people who were strong enough for, in whatever sense, to go through that blockage and also make their way back.
That's how many you're aware of who've done that.
So Sigmar and
Magnus.
But we know that Magnus didn't.
What?
That's how many you know.
So it's just Sigmar.
Looks like it's probably, assuming that what you know
Now,
about Magnus is
I don't know if
not
you're going to make me roll for this. But in terms of my lore theology and I could literally riffle through my life of Sigmar, although, I'm presuming it's in there somewhere. At what point in his life did Sigmar walk through it?
Okay, that one's relatively easy.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's core Sigmar Creed.
I just want to be clear in terms of the other things that have happened in his life.
Long before he becomes emperor. Well, not long before. He conquers the tribe that was in the local area, the Judean tribe. And in so doing, becomes their chief by doing the Ulrican thing, as we've already discussed. You want to take control of Ulricans, you beat them up.
So this was after, because I know part of the story was like he scaled the mountain himself,
It's
and their leader was Arthur.
correct.
And he beat Arthur to become...
Yes.
So it's at that point.
Yes.
So that's before. I'm just trying to think of like the other entanglements that he had with, sorceress and magical forces. It was long before any of that.
Long
that was
before
once he was an
all
empire.
the oddities that would occur afterwards. Indeed, you could almost argue that you could split Sigmar's life into very clean parts. Kid, getting the hammer. Well, at least saving the High King.
Oh, was that before?
Okay. Then binding everything together through a long process, halfway through which he passes through the flame. And after that, he just goes big in everything that he does. He not only obviously makes the empire, but to do that, he defeats an orc horde of unimaginable size, a greenskin horde that had been bedeviling the dwarfs for not just centuries, even longer. A war that had been building and falling apart from the dwarfs' perspective for ages. This was the, we're all together, we're now going to wipe them out war. And Sigmar stopped it. Personally. And then after that, his rule is extraordinary. He becomes the equivalent of the dwarf high king to all the dwarf kings. He basically takes the same route that they took, the same model, and puts himself up as the high king, the emperor, over all the kings, what would become later known as the electric kings. The clan chiefs of the various clans that are working in. So each one of the main chiefs became his equivalent of his dwarf holds. And then the dwarfs came in and started building roads everywhere, providing him with technological boosts that were well beyond his early rule. And then just about every supernatural enemy that you can consider gives it a go to take him out. Fails, he takes them out in turn. One or two of the battles are so extraordinarily epic, they take days. According to the various books that you've read, definitely not a lie.
Yeah,
definitely not a wreck. Ranging from a mountain-sized dragon ogre to the Lord of Undeath himself.
I'm more inclined to believe that one though because of Havercorn's story.
Yeah. You start going, oh, it's definitely a made-up, but is it? Okay, to the Lord of Undeath himself, to Drachenfels, the great enchanter. Yeah, Sigmar bopped him. In fact, I could just keep on going through them. A great chaos lord, greater demons, all sorts pop up. Takes them all out, and then doesn't die, abdicates, and vanishes.
And then apotheosis.
Yep.
Did Luitpold tell us about the deal he made when he went through the demon pool? Okay, so in that case, you will say, do you think that perhaps when Sigmar went through, he managed to come back because he made a deal with something on the other side? That's probably really heretical.
It's really heretical.
It's really heretical, and it's definitely not what's been sitting in the back of Luitpold's mind this entire time. But I mean, he might have, if he thought it was Ulrich, then he might have. Why wouldn't you? If he looked up to Ulrich, respected him, worshipped him as a god of war, he was a warrior himself. If he thought the god of war spoke directly to him, offered him a chance to, strengthen his arm.
And it sounds like from this Ulrich and stories, this sister is quite fond of tricking people, so... Please don't slight me.
That was a theological debate that ended in an interesting place.
Gonna sit here just waiting for the lightning bolt? No lightning bolts. Okay, that's good.
But yes, I didn't tell the priests there because I didn't feel like they would react very well to it. But I did tell them that I heard howling and stuff because I heard my fox when I first saw the flame. Which is not a good sign.
It's possibly worse.
I told them I heard dog.
But if it... I don't pretend to fully understand all this ether stuff that Amenawith talks about. But I know that Birdie looks holy to me. But that Amenawith tells me it's not holiness, it's something magical. And that one wind of magic can look holy, and we know that that has been done to maybe make certain people appear more pious than they are. Can't wink. Don't have eyelids.
Nod's head.
Nod's head as if he's winking.
You have eyebrows, you could wiggle them.
They're probably covered by the bandages to hide the horrific scars. So, like, if you're saying it's like a gate, but it's like damned, then there's like a pool of this.
And it's and I think that's what's reacting badly to blessed people. The other priests were saying that it happens quite a lot. If like a blessed person comes and like challenges Ulrich, it reacts badly when they enter. But I've been like, I go to like temples of Sigmar all the time, and it doesn't happen. It's, I mean, I guess maybe Ulrich.
Not a blocked gate though, is it?
Yeah,
no, so to speak.
Well, it's sort of, maybe it's both. Right? Like, it is whatever it was, right? Whether that was something magical, whether that was a prison, whether that is a damned gate. But it has also been the focus of worship for millennia.
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe there's more than one thing happening in that place. Maybe it is both sacred to Ulrich and also it is whatever was there before.
It felt like it was, you know, like it felt.
Yeah, you definitely walked into Ulrich and Holy Ground.
Yeah.
Because didn't that, the temple of the Gilded Boar that Luitpold went to, that you went underneath?
Yes.
Like, it felt sacred to Sigmar, and then it felt different underneath, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the idea of a place being one thing and then
another,
becoming something
you
else.
definitely have that in your religious, let's say, lexicon.
By the way, we got asked if we were Sigmarite priests as we were coming out to the flame. I feel like last time when you told us, you said that as long as you weren't dressed up as a priest, you could go in.
Yeah, actually, I mean, when I'd been there before, we couldn't go in the robes and everything, and we couldn't, you know, do anything official, like prayers or things like that.
I'll add an extra stipulation. You couldn't, because of your order. It wasn't just being a Sigmarite priest, it was your order, because your order specifically claims that it guards the silver flame, which the Ulrichans don't like, because that's their job. So
had we been priests of the torch, we'd have been like,
oh yeah, you just go and pop one up. It's your business. If you want to do something foolish up there, that's entirely up to you. Ulrichans are very much of the.
They might almost like it, because if Sigmarites get called into the flame and die, one for your Sigmarite to worry about.
I mean, sure.
But yeah, so maybe like something changed recently as well.
I mean, it could just
weird.
Be the general tension between Ulrichans and Sigmarites, possibly.
Or that thing that happened 2 years ago that is definitely not you.
Yeah. And I suppose, did you see them kick anyone out who wasn't? So it may not have been that they weren't letting priests of Sigmar in. It may be just they've got a new stipulation that they have to be bound so that they don't, or gagged so they don't say something inappropriate, or escorted or guarded or something. Or maybe they've been told to look for priests of Sigmar. I don't want to sound as arrogant as Alemenowith or paranoid.
But you're going to.
Maybe they were. Well, just I was for a long time. I was adamant. One of the first things I was doing when we got here was going to look at that flame. Maybe they were looking for me specifically.
Maybe, and the story that they tell people, maybe, you know, over time, somebody changed the details so it sounds more like you, because the description definitely sounded like you.
Yeah.
Then, if that were to be the case, what do you think would happen? Well, you do know one thing. You received a vision about that place.
Chuck him in the flames.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
Anyway. Whatever you do, don't tell Gerhardt it's a trap. Because his suggestion will be to go.
In any case, I should try and not show my face around there, because they were quite keen on keeping me there, because they were quite convinced I was now blessed by Ulrich as well. And they told me all these stories, like if you see a big man, like, be careful or you're gonna get pregnant. Like,
I mean, that does just sound like good life advice. But, you know.
Yes, the terror of big men. Who can resist them? But yeah, so it was interesting. It felt weird that they were sure that Ulrich was walking around and impregnating women who saw the flame, but also that he was able to be inside and telling them stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is. I mean, it's a theological thing. So, have you heard of Mamidia?
only that I give her seaweed sometimes. Oh no, that's Manan.
Yeah. Don't give Mamidia seaweed.
Manan does like seaweed.
I mean, Mamidia might like seaweed. I don't know, but it's not especially associated with her worship.
Mamidia is the fighty one.
Yes, sort of goddess of strategy and historically more like civilization. But she.
Maybe you should be teaching me more about theology.
That sounds like it. I mean, it's a perfect example of exactly that. Where Sigmar was a man who became a god, she was a god who became a woman who then became a god again. So she came down and assumed mortal form.
Okay.
And fought and did many things, which I will tell you off air. I did many things. And then, so the story goes, reascended afterwards. And the theological question is, was she still there in the ether because the ether has no time while she was
with the gods.
The realm
Ether's
of the
an
gods.
elf word.
Yeah, but because we've been using it.
Totally.
Was she still in the realm of the gods, or the ether, as Alamenoith would say? Was she still, since time is different there? Was she still there even when she was down here? And that also then the question would be, if Sigmar was going to go up to the realm of the gods, was he always in the realm of the gods? Was he always going to have been going to the? There is
Alamenoith's view is that once you've gone up, you've always gone up. But that was Alamenoith's view. Very elven appreciation of how these things work.
Yeah. Time is a flat circle. And all that.
Yeah.
Is that also? I don't know about the other elven, like, religions, but because Alamenoith follows Ladriel, right? Who is supposed to be over here, but she uses magic. She doesn't pray to her. Is that why they need to use magic instead of like get blessings and stuff? Because she's not in the aether to do that for her in that way.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, from what Alamenoith has told me, all of their priests. She said something patronizingly along the lines of, well, in your language, you would say that they all use magic.
Okay.
Or words to that effect. That it was different. That's why Teclis was so confused by priests here.
Okay.
Because we don't talk in that language of magic that Elric uses, that Alamenoith uses.
I wonder how it works for Renaud. Because I'm right in saying that Renaud is also one of the gods that we're not sure if they're over here or over there or.
Well, yeah, from my understanding, yeah, the story's saying both.
Yeah,
but that's sort
your
of the point.
understanding. The story is mortal, and
tricked himself to
tricked himself.
But may also still be back down here.
Renaud is Sigmar.
The Sigmarite view, which is worth noting, is that Sigmar is unique, and that wasn't the case. The Sigmarite view, without any basis in any theological paper or book or anything else, is that Renaud was always a god and then just tricked mortals into believing the opposite was the case. The Sigmarite view is pretty well held by Sigmarite scholars, where the average priest in the streets just considers that to be the tale, that Renaud tricked Shalia into divinity.
And is he aware of the other metaphorical interpretation of how Renaud?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's something directly from
he supposedly
the chalice.
Sipped from her chalice, which, might mean that he drank something, but may also suggest something more carnal. and that was how he.
Shalia, who is, again, from your perspective, you don't have the necessary lore. Shalia is famously, not just abstemious, a virgin. So the nature of that particular tale is of interest. I'll let you do a lore theology roll as well, just to give you an extra potential.
Oh, one off a crit, but it's a pass.
It's a pass. Then I'll also say that there are multiple.
And I've got 20 in lore theology, so 2
Oh,
successes.
cool. Okay, cool. Then I will specify a bit more. There are multiple tales of Shalia being kidnapped, taken, persuaded by other gods, most of whom, because gods are somewhat lusty individuals.
I seem to remember one with Ulrich. Right?
Yes, there's one with Ulrich, where Ulrich doesn't pursue in that particular state because he gets guilty. There's one with Manan, where Manan literally kidnaps her and brings her to the bottom of the sea, and she's down there for an age. Yeah. Didn't quite go like that. And now I can't get it in my head. Thanks for that.
But we better not sing any more, in case we get like a copyright infringement.
And there are a variety of other tales as well that you don't know the details of, but you are aware that they exist. In that, when you were getting taught, the Manan and the Ulrican story was the one that was brought up, and the there are others was also mentioned. So you're aware that it's almost standing as a metaphor for something, and it was being threatened repeatedly by a variety of different men. And the Renald legend is the one that most certainly suggests that if anyone did go there, so to speak, it was Renald. However, from your side,
whether we can trust what Renald says,
completely different kettle of fish. Where from your side, there are as many tales as there are people telling them. You have no lore theology. You have no way of just quickly picking out which ones are potentially real or not. But you, throughout the various tales you've heard, have one thing that stands out quite clear. You're not even convinced Renald's a man, let alone where Renald started as god or anything else. In the Empire, Renald is frequently depicted as male. But when you speak to the individual Ranaldans, when you were down in Marienburg, many of them, as far as they were concerned, Renald, 100% definitely not a man.
So, some of your prayers in the book. This is Andy knowledge, not Luitpold knowledge, but sometimes when you've prayed, the stories have been
she's, hers, theirs, everything in between. Renald is difficult to pin down.
And the Nipponese, like closest equivalent to Ume's knowledge, is usually depicted as a woman. So
yep,
interesting.
And a harvest goddess.
And from the very, phallocentric. That's a word Luitpold would know, right?
Yeah.
From the phallocentric nature of so many of both the rulers and the religious leaders of the empire. Like, they might not have, were Renald female, they might not have found Renald sipping from Shalia's chalice to be a violation of her virginity in the way that Ulrich or Manan sleeping with her would have.
Welcome to phallocentralism.
But then maybe Shalia was into that and was okay with it because it was a woman.
Yeah.
Maybe
less
virginal and just not straight.
Yeah.
Exactly. just not into them.
Just not into those big beardy big blokes.
I have
which
a question.
might be why you. No, that wouldn't work. Why you got warned to stay away from big beardy blokes.
Apparently that's just because if you've seen Ulrich only wives people who've seen the flame or some stuff like that. Apparently, I don't know. They probably just made that up.
I need to ask something, and this is one of these. This came up in our little impromptu stream last week, actually, when somebody asked us how Lindsay and I keep our in-game knowledge separate from our character knowledge, and I was like,
"Go, do watch that Q&A."
Yeah.
Then you'll know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, my answer in that was that normally it's quite straightforward. Normally I err on the side of caution, and occasionally, if I'm not sure, I just ask you.
And here we go.
And this is what I'm doing right now, which is obviously we're familiar, and this is Andy saying it, not Luitpold saying it. So please don't make me roll any corruption. But we've had this name for Ulrich's twin. This which includes, and we have spoken about the prince. And the prince and what the prince represents. Have we joined those two dots together? Or is that Andy making a name-based assumption link there or not? I have a feeling we have, but I'm not 100% sure and I'll check.
I'm happy for you to do so by choice.
You're just gonna step slightly further out.
This feels like a Faustian bargain.
It's a trap.
It does feel like
a trap.
It's a trap. It does feel like a trap. One addendum to that then. The flashback. No, we did.
Mm-hmm.
I think combined with our prior knowledge, but also combined with because Marguerite told us the story of her grandfather that we played through in a flashback episode.
Yes.
And in that episode, I think it was more
potentially the case.
Yeah.
Feel free if you wish to. Yes.
All I want to suggest is if Andy's getting ready to roll a Wrath of the Gods. If as we've sort of speculated, it may be Ulrich's twin that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ulrich's twin is, as some people in the party have perhaps speculated, may be connected with one of the ruinous powers, who is...
The one who... I think Elemental Wife has said the one who wants to eat the elves.
Yeah, that one. Who is prone to, like, excess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, excesses of lust and stuff. That might make sense why horniness and having lots of children.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe this whole Ulrich's children thing isn't Ulrich's children. It's the children of Ulrich's twin. Like Ulrich's nephews and nieces, to extend the metaphor. If it's coming from the flame and the,
Maybe.
you know.
What you do know is that the children of Ulrich, or the sons of Ulrich, as they're called in some quarters too, are considered heretical by the cult.
Yeah. That might be why, because they might not be worshipping Ulrich at all. They might think they are.
They are the very same group that you encountered when you were back in Delbert.
They definitely seem to enjoy excess in a way. There's a question, but like I feel like a lot of stories about gods are like related to being horny, and maybe it's just our perception as people, like species who are driven by sex-related stuff, and therefore it affects our stories.
Oh, there's undoubtedly a lot of projection in a lot of these, religious stories.
But then,
of that there is no doubt.
But if they have a kernel of truth, then why are Sigmarites so puritanical when the other gods are shown to have a lot of sex?
Oh, so many reasons. So begins Luitpold's TED Talk about the problems with the cult of Sigmar.
The TED Talk continues as they make their way down through the side streets, because the puritanical, for Puritans, wait a minute, that's not right. But regardless, the puritanical roots are grounded in, ultimately, pretty decent sense. And he sadly has, according to at least where he received his tutelage, quite a number of rather dangerous facts to back that up about various groups that, because they were not keeping their selves in, let's say, a state of care, that things very quickly went over an edge. And they moved from one place to excess. And it was effectively the gateway drug, to use modern parlance. Now, whether that's true or not, whether there are other routes towards success in this area is to be debated. And he has things that he can bring up. The Ryans, for example, have a very different route. The Ryans believe very much in the opposite of being abstemious, or indeed only having sex within small family groups. Ryans are far more, let's say, sharing. And they believe that if you attempt to effectively mortify your lusts all you're doing is creating a situation where you can be tempted. And thus, that temptation turns into effectively what you feel is sin. The Sigmarites, from the Ryan perspective, are setting themselves up to fall. Where the Sigmarites, their general belief is they're going to fall anyway. They very much believe that every single human will fall if they're given any opportunity to do so. So you have to do everything within your capabilities to ensure that that fall does not happen. And that is what most of them are bashing away about every Festag.
Phrasing.
Purposeful. Bashing away about every single Festag, where they're attempting to say, just don't. You have your place in life. Deny change. Have a family. Support the empire. Do not go beyond it. Do not seek anything that could be seen as more than what you currently have. If you are ill, do not pretend you are not. Do not give in to despair when others betray you. Do whatever. You must always be working together as one large community of lots of small family groups, all of whom are working towards an end goal within a very fixed set of parameters. The empire is the chains that bind and keep everyone safe. And when the communities do that, they are surprisingly effective. And that is what is deeply disappointing to a free thinker like someone like Luitpold.
But the reason for priests abstaining is what, and like in Luitpold's order, they don't.
Correct.
And that's the thing that he finds problematic. Because for priests to, and like at least with Ulricans, there's a reason there. It's because they don't want to breed a kind of lineage that's a challenge. And also, it's an open secret that they all visit brothels anyway, right? And that's seemingly fine. Whereas with the Sigmarites, they largely don't. I'm sure some of them do.
Yep, the majority of their orders are celibate.
And
Not all, by some stretch. I mean, including the primary order, the Order of the Torch. Not all of it is celibate. Most of it is.
And I'm sure Ume will have loads of stories of hypocritical priests.
Oh, there's always going to be a hypocritical priest, no matter where you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's human nature. But what's more worrying is not the hypocritical priests; it's the ones who stuck to their vows until they fell.
Yeah, and inevitably some do.
Yeah.
So the core family unit, the building brick of the empire, that builds Sigmar's empire and builds up this great wall of security that keeps the ruinous powers on the outside as the enemy without. And for those who break from that, they are the ones who are going to fall. If you never break from that, you can't fall. They've got a pretty simple doctrine. Stick in your place and you will be fine. The Chaos Gods are real. They are real. Don't do these things. The Ryans could not disagree with them more on certain points while simultaneously agreeing with them in a variety of others. Each of the gods have got their own perspectives. Take, for example, the cult of Ulrich. The cult of Ulrich, well, they often give in to rage. And that is hand in hand with the issues that a certain other god could potentially come and knock on their door with. The cult of Ulrich and the cult of Sigmar vehemently disagree on this. The cult of Sigmar does not believe in giving into anger in the battlefield. They believe in coldly taking down their enemies.
And I think Luitpold can go one stage further and say, like, Sigmar does not approve of giving it, because on the one time he did, and this was pre-stream, but he got smacked down with the Wrath of the Gods. Not even a sin point, like an immediate Wrath of the Gods. And he knew why.
Yep.
And it's had quite a profound effect on him.
It's deeply restrictive, but Sigmar is at the core of his religion. Anti-chaos.
But do you think that maybe people almost let down their guard because they think they're doing all the things right by abstaining and not doing, and then therefore when something comes up that gets through those walls, it's easier to fool them?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest problem is the people. The biggest problem is people. Actually,
okay.
Like within the cult is made up of people, and one of the overarching problem I have with my larger cult, infrastructure, the problems I had with it in Saul, the problem I have with it elsewhere is the insistence by so many of them of primacy, of it's the Sigmarite way and it's only the Sigmarite way, and the other gods are somehow lesser, less important, less real, less significant. And I don't see it that way. And I should. I've been raised within the cult. It's the only life I've known. I'm touched by Sigmar. I'm blessed by him, and yet I feel that our job is to bind the Empire together, and the Empire includes the followers of those other deities, and that I should do respect to those other deities also, and that means not denouncing the practices of those other deities as heretical.
Well,
that's my problem.
That actually brings me to a point. I've been meaning to talk to you about this. I do sometimes feel like perhaps you fall back on that doctrine when it comes to stuff I do, and it's also probably my fault because I maybe don't explain myself very well. But I sometimes feel like I'm doing things to follow my strictures and my religion, and not only the Empire stuff, but like the stuff from back in Nippon. But I feel a little judged by you sometimes. And I don't know, I wish, because I don't have the understanding to explain it to you, I feel like sometimes our relationship suffers from that.
Well, that I'm sorry if you. That certainly hasn't been my intent. I will confess to being alarmed sometimes at how openly you talk about, the D word, like being conscious of the fact we're walking down the street, and the what that suggests and connotes within the Empire. And perhaps the S word is a better word to use than the D word.
Okay. I guess, yeah, it's just...
Bad spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like spirit rather than the D word. Just, the D word has very specific connotations of the ruinous powers.
She likes D. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think that is, and like, you know what, you're probably right. On some level, I probably do respond based on how I've been raised, but also, and it may well be that the problem is often our collective discourse as a party is undoubtedly elevated and enriched by all of the different voices that are within it. However, sometimes certain of those voices profess a certainty that isn't necessarily there. Now, I know at times I am one of those voices. I'd say probably less of late, as I have been racked with doubt and second guessing myself. Alan Menowith is definitely one of those voices who speaks with a confidence that I think is not proportionate to her actual knowledge.
Okay.
She undoubtedly knows things we don't, and undoubtedly has a different perspective to us. However,
Ume is like, but he can't see it.
he can probably hear the suppressed mirth. Like the frequency with which she has contradicted herself has now convinced me that she doesn't know as much as she pretends that she knows. And she will say, "Oh, there is no difference between a D and an S," by which, from a certain taxonomy, there is no difference, right? Because they are both creatures of what she calls the ether, right? Of that divine essence. But I would argue that there is a difference between a D and an S.
And we've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, exactly.
With my fox and stuff.
But I think when the statement, "Oh, there's no difference, it's all the same," is said with such certainty, many people in our group accept that as truth. And indeed, that has been one of my consistent problems, because she will assert something like that without really thinking or caring the impact that will have on others within the group. Others within the group will take that as gospel or disregard it entirely. And then becomes very hard to have a conversation around it because we're not talking about the same thing in the same terms.
By others in the group, are you meaning me?
No.
Okay.
No, genuinely, no. I mean, God. Never have I seen a man more willing to cherry pick which pieces of information he holds to be true in order to further whatever harebrained scheme he's come up with.
That's just, he's always been like that, though.
I know. Believe me, I know. Since he was like no higher than my knee, he's been like that.
Yes. But I don't know. I think perhaps, if you're willing, I would love to learn more about what religion is like over here, because I confess I don't know as much as I would like.
Certainly.
And maybe that will help, like, close that gap between our understanding of each other as well, because I'll know how to explain it to you.
And I'd love to learn more about your kind of beliefs from back in the pond as well.
Yes.
Actually,
the stuff I know.
This is where I'm getting confused with my timelines. Were you with us in Delbren? Delbers?
Delbren.
The one with the
Delbren.
The Delbren. Were you with us in Delbren? No, that was before. When we were in Delbren, I mean, it was an awful time, and it's an awful place, and I don't really want to go back. But we did witness like a really interesting local religious. There's a local god, probably, maybe a big S. Delb. Yeah. But we, I'm really interested in that because I do believe in unity. I do believe we're stronger together, but that doesn't mean like singularity. It means consensus, working together, not all being the same.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm not really articulating myself well.
Well,
I feel like this is one of the places where Gerhardt would be useful. He would be able to tell me the word I don't know.
Or at least he'd spin it to the word he wants to use.
Yeah, or he would tell me a word that sounded like it was the right word. And then it turned out I was saying the wrong thing because I don't speak classical.
In which case, the first thing to share maybe, I don't know, I think I was feeling off that day and I didn't explain it right. One of the reasons I wanted to go to the baths was because in Nipponese religions there's a god that is said to have a bathhouse, and that god is kind of like a cat figure. They are known for helping people understand themselves better and others, and kind of reflecting.
Do I need to do a rule theology for an empire-based parallel to that?
You don't need to. I think there's more than enough supposition and guesswork to leave that in as a place.
That doesn't sound hugely dissimilar to our goddess Katja.
Okay.
I mean, she's the goddess of disarming beauty. But I mean, bathhouses would be a euphemism for the type of institution that her followers tend to to hang around in. But there is something in her practices that is to do with finding clarity and purpose and a sense of self.
So I think I wanted to go there because I thought it would help me and us in general kind of reflect on what we're doing, because one of the things is that you arrive at this place and lay your weapons to the side because you're going to a bathhouse, you can't take your weapons in. And it opens up like an equal floor for everyone to speak their mind. But I didn't explain that, so I can understand why you didn't. You thought maybe I was being silly, but it was important to me. And
I mean that does. I mean that sounds both interesting and I think important, and I think will be good. I stand by what I said on the day, though, that day was not the right day for that.
I get that, but I wish you'd said that before we went on a walk around town.
I did, and I was ignored.
Okay.
Can I tell you something? And again, I am sorry if it felt look. Some of my irritation was undoubtedly the fact that I was grieving. Nils had just died. And then we were talking about, and I didn't have the context at the time, but it felt like we were talking about having a spa day. And that felt disrespectful. And it felt like no one else cared that Nils had just died. Like it had no impact on anyone else. And that hurt. That was problematic. And we had a lead, and yet we weren't investigating the lead. We were going to do something else. And I absolutely take your point about laying weapons down and how that makes for a chance for more open and honest conversations. But bearing in mind the weapons, particularly the weapons that you and our Menowith are carrying, I would suggest perhaps laying those aside might be wildly reckless. And that perhaps leaving those unattended in a bathhouse might be dramatic irony. Might be problematic. But there is another reason why I actually dug my heels in and ended up going for the wild wolf hunt, or whatever the appropriate
Call it that.
Yes, on the wild wolf hunt that we went on, which is actually something that it may not have felt like it, and I certainly didn't articulate it because I didn't want to have yet another argument, because we've had not between you and I, but between the party as a whole, because we've had so many of them. You recently, on more than one occasion, have entirely fairly, I think, intimated the people within the party treat you more like a child than a woman, and that you want to be treated like an adult, that you are. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to treat you like the adult. Okay. The rest of the party are not. And on that day, I attempted to give some rational reasons why perhaps going to the bathhouse wasn't a good idea. Now, you're right, you didn't give your full reasoning why, but you almost felt you didn't need to give your full reasoning why. Because Birdie and Menowith immediately said, yes, let's do that. It's a good idea. They treated you like an infant. They gave in to what you wanted because you wanted it, not because you'd articulated the reason why. And as I saw them giving in to treating you like a child, and I realized there was no way for me to really discuss that with them and you, all of us together, without it degenerating into another bickering spat. When we just had so many. Plus, I think Spengler was still in the near shot, and he had literally just told us off for bickering. And perhaps I gave into the sin of pride there a little bit, and I didn't want to be look bad in front of our new ally. But it was clear to me that for all that they may have intended well, they were infantilizing you.
I can see why it would look that way. I don't know if I interpreted that way, but
probably not. And you know what, they may not have interpreted that either, but I could see that the speed with which they gave in to pleasing you was essentially spoiling you.
I mean, how could they say no to me?
Well, I mean, you are adorable, of course, but I know you want to be treated seriously, and sometimes that means having your curmudgeonly friend take the piss a little bit. You're welcome, mate. He'll slap her on the arm.
Well, thanks. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. Going forward,
well, we've had this conversation, so I won't need to do that ever again.
Exactly, and I think potentially,
and hopefully, I won't have had an novitiate just die the day before as well.
Yeah, and I have been meaning to talk, check up on you, but I didn't really know how to bring it up, and whether you want to talk about it. But I guess that's going forward. Let's just I don't. To be honest, I didn't quite realize how much you actually wanted us to get on with things. I don't think it really registered at the time. So let's just try and be more open and honest with each other.
I'm down with it.
And I'll try and not play petty pranks on you because you sent us on a wild wolf hunt.
I mean, don't think I didn't notice you trying to stab my shadow.
Well, I mean, I was feeling annoyed, and
it's fair enough. It didn't hurt. You can stab my shadow anytime you like.
I
with a normal sword.
I still feel a little. I don't know. Do you not feel? Surely you must feel a little bit still uneasy about that whole situation.
Yeah, yesterday I took myself down to the temple, and not the high temple, the one down in the south, and yeah, and I prayed and I meditated and I prayed, and I thought a lot about everything, and I realized that I've been thinking about this the wrong way. I've been seeking answers to questions that don't matter, and that has been opening me up to doubt and uncertainty, and there will always be doubt and uncertainty, and that's fine. I have been trying to eliminate that doubt and uncertainty, which has only been raising more questions and creating more doubt and uncertainty. And instead, what I need to do is learn to live with the doubt and uncertainty. That's not to say bury my head in the sand and ignore everything and not try and figure anything out. Of course not. We're trying to stop specific cults and specific actions, and we do that. But tearing myself apart, trying to work out where these visions are coming from, and why I'm having these visions, and what that means. Right now, that doesn't matter. What matters is stopping the cultists and what they're trying to do. And that's got to be my priority.
Yeah, I've been thinking something similar. At the end of the day, what we can do is look at what's happening and try and make the best decision.
And sometimes we'll get it wrong.
And sometimes we'll get it wrong, and our gods will let us know.
Oh yeah.
Valora's Forge. It was originally a human forge that she has taken for herself, and not so much repurposed, but certainly done quite a lot of work to on the inside to make it suit her purposes better. You know that she has
bigger tools,
for example.
Bigger door.
You know that she has mostly, and perhaps interestingly, human apprentices. At least that you've seen. Whether that is Arthur or whether that is Elric. You expect Elric to be here. He is not. You know Elric gets up early. You know Elric has been keeping it down here and just keeping away from the horror show up there until it's time to go to business. But whatever the case, he is not here yet, or if he has been. Well, there's some knives over there, presumably his work.
15 of them?
No. No. Arthur, however, is here. Tall, very Middenlander in almost every single way. He's got the cast of someone who perhaps carries the old blood of the old tribes if you're into such tribal nonsense. He most certainly has that broad-shouldered, blue-eyed blondiness to him that stands in, one could argue, contrast with the very god that is worshipped locally, known for his black hair and his big black beard. He sees you as you come. He's currently working on bellows. He is pretty much all muscle and loose leather top as he's pushing the air in, and just nods at you and says, "You're into here."
Is Valora here either?
Laura? No, she's not been here for a day now.
Was Elric here yesterday?
Aye. He was here this morning as well. Got himself a good 3 hour in before sun up.
Oh. What?
Told him he should get some rest. He went up for it, so I left him to it.
Do you know where he's gone then?
To shops. I think he's just having a wander around, you know. Big city, never seen it before. Told him about a couple of things just the other night, and, well, he wasn't that interested, but he was slightly so, I think. He's not local, it's all new to him. I suppose like it's new to you.
It's probably most likely having a pint somewhere.
Yeah.
Knowing Elric.
Not at this hour. Far too early in morn.
Do you not drink in the morning?
No, there won't be places. They'll all be filled up at festival and carnival. Unless, he's actually staying somewhere, he won't get in.
Mm.
Maybe later on when they open up and they spill out onto streets. Says, but not this hour.
Interesting. Weird. I will-
Sorry there's nothing else I can do for you.
Well, I mean, there maybe is, Arthur. You might be able to help us. I know we were here the other day and we were talking about it, but I'm trying to put together a timeline of what happened that day when we were here before, when we brought our friend Lucas and we left him here with you and with my late novitiate Nils.
Not a bad business, I hear.
Yeah. Could you talk me through everything that happened after we left them here and then we went away, and just talk through what happened and give us a rough kind of timeline of that day?
Right, well, gets a stein, slurps up some what looks like oily water, and takes a drink. Sits down, lovely oily water. Right, well, you dropped off fella, he were out. Right, miss. And Valora took him off, asked me to come in. I had to hold him down. He's slack fella, so wasn't so hard. She used these little stones and she did some things. One of them broke and she swore quite a bit. One of them pinged off and hit the wall, stuck in it, so I was quite glad that didn't hit me. Because, well, that would have been quite sore. She swore about that as well.
Can we see that somewhere on the walls?
Not here.
Interesting.
I mean, it's a pretty busy sort of ramshackle, but not quite forge.
Also, might have been in the little back room that we left him in.
Yeah, absolutely. As he goes, fella, he were right out of it, so he weren't coming back round. He got slapped round chops quite a few times. An attempt to wake him up. That weren't happening. So, went back to business. Your fella, he were nice. He were just gabbing away, trying to talk about it. He comes from south, you see. And he had quite a lot to say about what it was like down there. They were quite excited, I would say, about, everything that he were doing, cult and all that. He just wouldn't bloody shut up, if I were being honest. All time, not much else to say about him. Next day, though, he were asking to help out. He were asking to help out quite a bit. And eventually, I just shut him up. I said, he was all right, fella. I don't want to speak ill of dead. But he didn't half talk. Like. So, I showed him how to, I ate up some metal and gave him something to hit. That were it, really. It made him feel good, to be doing that. It made a bit of a dog's ear of it, though. Weren't very good. That evening, we had trouble. Outside, there were a group of fellas that were trying to cause him a trouble because he were from south, and they recognised his accent as from south, and they thought he might be southern, so they were like, "Get the fuck out and all that." And he just shut up, didn't say anything, let them talk, and they eventually went off. He wanted to sit down and have a talk about that, so I listened, I suppose. And then that made him clearly feel a bit better. So he went back to what he were doing. And he were doing it all wrong. I couldn't cope any longer. So I went over to try and give him a hand. And he made a right dog's dinner of it. I tried to show him how to do it better. From dog's ear to dog's dinner. It just got worse and worse. So I sat him down, got him doing it right. And, well, that didn't work either. Can see why I don't do this normally. It bounced off, and if I show you, a huge cut out the side of him.
I'm assuming you'll describe that to me.
Yeah.
He says, he's fit. really big and chunky. You're one of those big guys you should avoid.
Yeah,
Big wolf guys, avoid those. As I'm here, right over here. He says, opened me right up. And between you and me, I've seen things that no man should rightly see. And it looked like a sausage.
Oh, it's not good when your insides become your outsides.
So Valora, she sorted me out there. You can see there's metal staples. And I'll be honest, it hurts quite a lot. But I ain't bleeding too much.
Have you got anything for the pain? Are you alright?
I'll be fine. Says.
Alright.
He flexes. It must have only happened a couple of days ago. And there he is. There is dried blood around it.
Oh, hardcore.
Yeah.
Well, you're the one who can tell whether he's lying or not.
I was going to say, and I assume Nils was mortified.
Oh, you should have seen him. He were all over himself. I passed out, apparently, and he were trying to scoop it all back in.
Can I check at that point if he's lying?
Yeah, go for
it. 4 successes?
You're seeing no telltale signs that you think. I mean, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
He's not obviously being shifty.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. It's a plausible story. There's some empirical evidence for it.
He were right over me, I'm told. Valora told me a bit about it because he was screaming. So she said. She had quite a laugh about it, actually, when he were gone. Which is a bit of a shame. You know, when he took fella back.
And they left together, and he didn't leave before and then come back.
No, he were here all the time. I mean, there were times when I were out, and when I were out, I obviously couldn't see nothing.
But that was. Did you leave after the injury? But
if I'm going to be, you're making me think about it, and you're making me talk. He says.
Apologies.
But when he hit that bit of metal, it was very odd to see it fly off the way that it did. If I'm being... I mean, it surprised me at the time, and it took, I'd say, maybe a good 10 heartbeats before I realised how bad it was. I mean, it hit me, and I thought it just hit me. And it was sore, but I was more concerned that maybe he did himself. His face looked horrified. When he turned around, he looked at me, and he was all horrified. Then I realised, and then I was down, and then I was out. I mean, it were unexpected is what I'm saying. And given all the oddities around it, poor fella dying and all that, I suppose that's worth saying, just so you know.
And Valora was in the forge when
she
it happened?
She weren't back, and she came out when she heard him screaming. And then she stapled me up. I mean, it's... As he moves... Well, she said something to me, which I don't think I'll ever forget. She said, what you got to understand, son, she didn't call me son, that would have been my mother. But what you understand is that your body is just like anything else that we make here. So all we need to do is bend the right bits into the right place and hammer it into shape. And that's what I've done to you.
Okay.
A milk of his girl, I would agree with that.
Like a living suit of armour or something, and she just sorted out some of my scales, what had been broken, some of the rings in a chainmail suit or something. Oh, it's bloody sore. But I still got work I have to do. And she reckons that you just power through it. That was her words. Make it stronger, she said. Don't feel like it's making it stronger, but...
I think, I will make a lower dwarfs roll if you want me to. But I think Luitpold knows enough to know that dwarfs are just physiologically a bit different from
Damn
humans.
straight.
Yeah. So I think the thing that Laura might not appreciate is that dwarves are just built different from us.
Right.
So I think some of the things she's saying might be more true of their bodies, perhaps.
Well, I say it's bloody sore.
Well, maybe I could do a blessing?
I mean,
What, you're some sort of priest?
Yeah.
Well, I also
I mean,
just have a look and just give him a wee look over the heal skill? If you want me to, as a human.
So, heal doesn't give you a look over. Heal gives you an attempt to try and provide
Well, yeah.
wounds back. He has currently got no wounds lost.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
fine.
quite.
Yeah.
As you're like, I don't know what to do with this.
Basically, essentially, what he'll because he can't really see
Yeah.
it, will just be checking. Does it feel
it's like,
sealed?
It's like a snake of
Yeah.
metal staples that goes along it. It's impressive as you
not-
feel like go. How the fuck? You go. Ow.
But it's not like obviously leaking loads of blood. Or
No,
anything like that,
not at all.
so-
I mean, it's got a bit of dry blood around it, but
Yeah.
it's sealed.
Well, but like, it's
It says-
a fun
So
story. People feel better afterwards.
He says,
Trust-
"Look, I'm
trust-
willing to try anything."
You should absolutely trust her.
He says, as he puts up his hand, he says, "Tell your story."
Cool. And she'll take out her book because she doesn't actually have this one memorized and do a blessing of hardiness, maybe? Tough.
Nice.
Makes
That's
it
a
tough.
good
Make
one.
her feel a little bit
Yeah.
stronger.
That's a good one.
Like
Uh,
it.
Cool. So yeah, she will open up her book, and she's doing this very obviously because she wants to double check that he is a Ranaldin, and she thinks maybe the book will make him like. Anyway, I will roll. And that's 8 successes, I believe.
Sweet!
Noise.
That is a lot of freaking successes. It is your calling.
To touch up hot men.
We found the key to unlocking your power.
All you need to do is find hot men to touch.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Elric, come here.
The hottest of them all. As he sits and listens to you as you pray. And you tell, because it is a blessing, it's a relatively short prayer. Much like the prayers of Sigmar are often very blunt and to the point when they're dealing with blessings. They're nothing more than Sigmar, watch over this soul, and whatever the individual connotation for the prayer at hand is. In your cases, it's often nothing more than a quick tale of something that Ranald once did. And Ranald once was bit by the jaws of a wolf. And then just rolled on the inside and slid out his bum. Because Ranald. It's a prayer that has always amused you. Always amused you. Now, admittedly, the way you were first told it wasn't the word bum, but it now says bum in your book. As he looks confused and goes, "You're telling me you're black? You," and he puts up his.
And she'll spread her fingers to show him. I think she's got 4.
Jam, you got on the inside of your fingers.
Yeah, she's got 4 crosses.
Oh, bloody hell. Bloody hell. Spreads his hand. He's got 1.
Ah,
A single
pat
cross.
pat.
You tend to find outside the cult very rarely will you get more than 1. 1 means that he's a strong layperson.
Uh-huh.
That's actually for a normal person.
Uh-huh.
That's a thing.
Uh-huh.
Because normally people aren't willing to go into what is clearly criminal activities just to try and, unless they've got something they're looking for from the cult.
Yeah.
Or from Ranald, or they're looking for a blessing for one reason or another. And when you're looking for a blessing from Ranald, it's really for above board reasons.
Uh-huh.
Clearly, he's had less than above board reasons
Uh-huh.
to be seeking Ranald in the past. As
Well,
he,
we gotta look out for each other, right?
I had no idea. No idea at all. I mean, normally, you're I don't. It's just a little short.
That's why I've got 4. Nobody thinks about it.
I suppose you'd be wise in such ways. I mean, between you and me, it does actually feel a little bit better,
Good. I'm glad.
I think.
That does actually. It's a good point. Do you know of any around here? Like, obviously, I'm not from here, and I've been looking for.
Truth be told, I'm not from here either. I'm from that side of Middenheim. Come from a Mishid, but I don't like telling them here. They're all a little bit up themselves.
So you didn't get this here?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
got it from look, she was a really nice girl. She passed through when I was maybe 17, 18. I were in difficult place. She found me. We had a long chat. She gave me a suggestion of something I could do that might be able to resolve issue. in my foolishness, largely because she were pretty. I agreed. I did it, and then afterwards she gave me this, and we had a bit of a chat, and then she fucked off, and she didn't even take me with her, which was what she promised she would, and I were a little bit upset at the time. I mean, I were quite young, you know. So I might have come chasing after her to Middenheim. Then I might have left again, and then come back again. And here I am now, working in Dwarf Forge.
Did you ever find her? I mean, it's a big place.
No. No, but I know she said she were coming here, but it's not like I believe it. That were quite a few years ago now.
Was she blonde?
Blonde?
Yeah.
No, she had a sky like copper birch. Run all through. Blue, red, and white. Distinctive.
Wow. That's, yeah, that is distinctive. She's not heard of anyone like that, right?
I mean, that sounds so distinctive as to be like a made-up disguise, right?
Yeah.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
She were posing as entertainer. She was telling stories and tales. She used it. She wasn't that tall. She only came up to like there and me. And she used to stand on box and fling her hair like that with bells on end to try and gather crowd. And she'd, one night I saw her. She had it all laid out in, like, how'd you describe, like layers. She had me paint over some of it to help it dry.
I guess she could have been blonde underneath.
It could have been anything underneath for all I know. She were blonde. Fair enough. I see what you're saying. He says, she were blonde. He looks quite uncomfortable. Why'd you ask?
Oh, we know someone who's been dealing out Renaud's Delight, and so we assume that it was someone who knew their way around the most unsavory parts of town.
I mean, young lady like you shouldn't be talking about Renaud. And he realises what he's just about to say. And pauses and goes, right, I see what you're saying. Well, if you're looking for something like that, I suggest going down over edge. There's dealers over there, that much I know for certain. Yeah, them talking about it down at pub.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, Frau Kenner, does it ring a bell?
Well, like a blonde girl called Frau Kenner.
That was the name, right? Yeah.
That was one of her names, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, this girl, she used to call herself Elise.
See, when he said he didn't know Frau Kenner, can I check to see if he was...
Yep.
It's either really good or really bad.
Ooh! We love those.
We do. It's really good. Because we're not stressed or anything, are we?
Not at all.
So 10 successes.
Yeah, you're pretty convinced this guy doesn't really do lying.
Yeah.
He
is as
in fact,
legit as he seems.
Yeah. He seems to be pretty much above board.
Nice.
Which
is ironic for somebody with one cross.
Yeah, absolutely.
It maybe explains why he's never going to get more than one, though.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, she called herself Elise. I can't remember her last name. It was quite a while ago, 5, 6 years ago. Oh, I don't know. Several summers, anyway.
Well, if you ever get bored of being working in the forge and you wanna keep doing that stuff, you know where we're staying?
No, I don't. Where are you staying?
Oh, you don't?
We're up in the ex-Graf champion's house, Schmiedhammer's house, up in the Graf Platz.
Oh, you're like walking with you're in what do you call it? Upper class circles.
Yeah, although Schmiedhammer himself, he's not.
He got hurt quite badly.
Very badly, and he just lost the drinking insensibility now.
Right, wait a minute. Like the one who were at fights? Because your man, Nils, he were telling about someone at fights, he got really badly hurt. Were it him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, oh. So that's the same person as the champion?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't say it was champion, did he?
He might not have realised. He spoke a lot. But he perhaps didn't listen as much as he should.
Right.
if you would like, I think perhaps, I know it's early, but maybe we should actually take some time to like reminisce about Nils. I know you're working and stuff, but like we've not really had a chance to, I don't know, raise a glass to his memory. You want a drink?
He looks at the water. I don't have proper drink here. Believe it or not, Valora, she don't drink. Not at all. And by that I mean she don't drink anything but water.
That's surprising for
Luitpold looks shook. I don't think I've ever encountered a dwarf that didn't.
I don't think I carry.
I tried to bring it up with her. I regret that.
Do you think it's like an oath she's sworn or something?
Something. Not something she's denied herself for one reason or other.
And once she set her mind to it, she's not going to change it.
Well, exactly.
Didn't Bertie and Elric told us the story of how they like stopped arguing, didn't? Like they were drinking together.
Mm-hmm.
Was she drinking as well, though?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It could just be something she says to him.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know why. It's fine. Luitpold understands, but we'll say nothing until we leave, and then we'll explain. Yeah.
Have you got anything on you?
Probably not. Realistically, no. He's got his empty tankard at his belt.
Yeah,
but I'm not drinking it.
Pop by. He says, "Well, given that we have big folk like yourself around and everything, I don't think that any words I could say would be particularly deep or particularly meaningful. But I'll say that you were all right."
And it means a lot to me that I know more of what happened to him in his last day. So, thank you.
Yeah, we're all right. Well, when I was told by Elric, actually, he was one who made it clear what happened. Don't even bear thinking about, really. Dark times.
Yes.
Dark times. We should all hold a torch up like Verena. You know, bring light to these dark times.
Yeah.
My mother used to say that whenever you feel times are getting dark, you should go to a pub and hear a story from someone. Fill your head with some new knowledge so that you might bring illumination to the world. That's what she used to say.
Wise woman, your mother.
Well, she were a drunkard. So, you know.
But a wise drunkard.
I'm not so sure she heard much of what she heard when she went to pub between you and me. I mean, she's still alive. Just down in Imishid way. And she'll still be at pub, drinking whatever she can get from whatever passing through. Good when it's on Grand Road, you know. You get all sorts passing through and they don't know that you're just a bullshitter. I should say that to me as well. No, they don't know nothing. You can say anything. You can be anything to these folk and they'll believe you and buy you a drink. So that's her job, that is.
Or maybe that cross, is something in your blood.
Maybe. Who can say? Some time passes as you discuss the poor, late, lamented Nils. You didn't know him very well either. And you certainly didn't. He was often just a figure of gentle dislike by Gerhardt.
Well,
And Alan Enway.
And Alan Enway, though Alan Enway in particular,
Yeah.
as if she's there.
We sometimes joked with him outside of your earshot, but she'll say it now, about, our terrible, teachers. And so Ume would complain about Jiro and,
Luitpold.
try and get
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
stuff about Luitpold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very good at teaching him how to fight. Not much else, I don't think.
Yeah. He has literally nothing to say other than he was very good at mangling metal. And clearly wielding a hammer at a forge was never his fate.
No, it's not the same as wielding it in battle.
Quite.
I don't suppose and I'm not asking you to do this for long, but I don't suppose I could have a brief go at hitting something just once, just as like a little to bring me closer to Nils.
He says, right.
No, I'm not going to try and actually forge something, and you are more than welcome to take cover behind something solid before I strike, just in case
I
this string
won't be
repeats itself.
taking cover behind nothing. I'll be showing you exactly what you have to do.
And I'm aware that I'm blind, but my other senses will help.
And we have a good 15 minutes worth of leading the blind.
You may well take this excuse to hide behind him. Oh no!
Yeah. I thought you might also be wanting to have a sneaky little poke around. But Luitpold has an ulterior motive here, but it is that, you know, the sound he's been getting at Sigmarite holy sites has sounded like a hammer and an anvil, and has sounded like the chipping away at the stone, and he just wants to hear if he gets some echo of that while he's doing it. That's all. Hoping for some kind of spiritual connection.
And it's interesting because he's looking for the tongue. And he doesn't get it. It doesn't sound right. There's something about it that sounds wrong. There's not enough strikes. Tongue, tongue. He always hears a second tongue. Always. But when he's doing it here, thunk. It doesn't give an automatic second one.
So he'll ask about that then. Say, like, is it ever, I don't know, do two people work on the same thing?
He says, aye. He says, often common with master and apprentice. Two working together. He says, well, one will be doing the hit, another one will be coming into the other side, often far weaker than master, because it's used to build up strength as well. So one will be going in and the other one goes in, getting more hits into the same amount of time, and often instructed as they go to make sure that they're doing it right, not slightly to the left. You're not being concentrated.
Could we try that with you striking as the master and me striking as the apprentice?
He says, well, I'll move around to the other side. He says, I'll hold on. He says, just looks at you. Look, right. Feel out where it is. He says, make sure we have it. Right, so I will come in, and I'm going to go bam, 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 bam. One, bam, bam, bam. Got it? That's the bam, tongue, tongue. Now in you come. Do yourself a melee test.
Also,
Hey!
now that he's like distracted actually doing stuff, Ume will take the opportunity to go and have a look around.
How'd you do?
Two successes.
Yeah, that's more than enough.
4 if he's got drilled.
Tongue, tongue, tongue.
But drilled might count here, actually.
Tongue. And it would be very easy for you to lose concentration because it's distressingly similar and you're not quite sure why it feels distressing. But you get a slight sensation of distressing. Simultaneously, slightly mild exultation because you rock and you figured out exactly how that one's going.
Nice.
Tongue. You'd always felt the tongue and not caught the tongue. Interestingly, immediately contextualizing yourself within the sounds you were hearing, you were the primary striker. The secondary striker was always like an echo, but it was always someone else was there that you were hearing, but not actually, because you always felt the tongue. So it's contextualized at least, what you've been hearing whenever you hear it.
What that means.
You have literally no idea. There are, I say rooms, it's more like a large room at the back, which is sort of curtained off with bits of hanging leather. And on one side, it's clearly the general living, cooking, everything else area. On the other side is bedding. There's bedding over in the cooking area too, where clearly our very long chap beds down. Valora's probably over on the other side. Are you going to go rooting around in the dwarf stuff?
Yeah, or at the very least to see if I can tell how long she's been away, maybe, or if she's taken her stuff.
How would you judge such a thing?
How smelly her used clothes are.
Yeah, so you've been in dwarf hole before.
Dwarf stink.
You have literally no idea what dwarf standards are because you know that dwarf standards are different to your own.
Her stuff is here. Like, it looks like she's
Oh yeah. She's not run off or anything. There's various bits and pieces of.
Yeah, she's not like
clearly
packed
her
and fled
life.
the city
No,
or anything.
Yeah.
So she's clearly still. Yeah.
she's just off doing whatever business it is that she has here. Maybe she's back down in the old dwarf area that's been largely abandoned.
Are there any like letters or things
no.
like that?
No.
Okay. Well, I feel like she's probably the kind of person who will be able to tell that someone's rifled through her stuff. And if she ever finds out it's me, I am not doing well. So
wisely.
I think you do wisely. I'm going to plant something of Gerhardt's.
I wish I had something of Gerhardt's to put there.
That's what you need to do, isn't it? Just steal something from everyone else just so that you can plant their stuff at a later date.
That
Apart from your good friend, Father Leopold.
Of course.
Who gave you that spiritual advice.
Okay. Yeah. She'll just have a look around for if there's anything else.
It's fair to say that it is just the back room of a smith with all the stuff you'd expect. There's nothing exceedingly exciting back here. Pots, pans.
There isn't a warp doorway.
No. Piles of old tools in a corner which have not
Unholy
been
shrine.
Yeah.
No.
Barrel with skin.
The dwarf is clearly sleeping on the floor. She has no interest in having a bed similar to what they have. She's sleeping down on the floor on the other side of the curtain. But yeah, no, nothing particularly exciting or interesting that jumps out to you.
Okay, fair enough.
And on the outside, you're down in the wine. We have said goodbye to Nils in a most unexpected way. We have learned a little bit about the tonk that you didn't know beforehand. We have also learned that Nils was probably taken after he left here.
But that it's possible there was some malign influence before.
Yeah.
That weird behaviour of the metal. Nils seemed shocked, so it seemed not to be deliberate, but it might have been something.
Indeed, that could have been the time when something went
Like
wrong.
we have somebody told us that, didn't they? Was it Gausser who said that? That's also an unappealing thought to follow that through. But didn't Gausser tell us that witches who hadn't like properly manifested, like bad, unlucky stuff happened around them?
Yes. Indeed.
I mean, I don't know that I want to articulate that given the whole Sigmarine heresy thing.
Classic witch sign in general, which is that is things going wrong, and from going wrong to going seriously wrong. It's a common trope to have somebody blame any unfortunate accident on there being a witch close by. And that can range from that very unfortunate accident to milk going sour a little bit too early, or, I don't know, well water turning into blood. There's all sorts of horrific things.
It's harder, isn't it? Because you're like, oh, what a horrible superstitious attitude that is often true.
And that's
In
one
the
thing.
Warhammer world.
It's one thing to very much get in your heads. In the Warhammer world, it is true. This isn't crazy superstition. It doesn't mean that that is the source, but it does mean that it is likely to be a source. But it's not just witch sign as in the people involved with it. Could be the witch, could be the arrival of one.
Yeah. So
Okay,
like
well,
maybe
that makes sense
the demon or whoever was controlling
Was
the demon
watching at
was
that
watching
point.
at that point, looking for their moment.
Just before we leave,
I mean,
she
if
will...
he did pass out before Valora got to him,
Yes.
he
Yeah.
might have been got in between while
true.
he was covered in
Depending.
blood.
How long was he screaming? Was
Yeah.
there much time? Was he screaming for a different reason?
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. That's awful.
Awful.
That's
Before we
something to
leave,
conclude.
she will remind Arthur if he wants a change in profession to come up and see them.
He says, "I'm sorry, love. I'm stuck here behind Forge. It's getting me money that I'm passing down to my mother.
Fair enough.
And besides," he says, "you know, I quite like it here." He says, So, to conclude, he will take the father aside before you go and say, look, I'm not that bright, Father. Is she coming on to me? He says, because if she is, can you pass on message that I'm very interested? But if she's not, you don't say anything. You understand?
Right, you
He
are.
says-
I mean, can I get a wee intuition test to see was she into Arthur at all? That's a very good intuition test.
I think it was pretty obvious.
Eight successes. Yes, she was. I'll let her know.
He says, right. His cheeks flush up. Right. He says, right. He says, I'm going to go back to Forge. Tunk, 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 tunk.
I'm assuming it's late enough now that there'll be some public houses nearby that are open.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like me to go have a drink and maybe leave you two alone for a bit?
If you don't
Yeah.
mind.
I don't want to go too far. Is there a public house like within pointing
Can I
distance?
please have an intuition test?
Oh, yes, you can. Oh, it's a crit! I have a feeling that was a fortunate time to crit, but just for legitimacy's sake, that's a crit. So that's 5, 6.
I love it.
6 successes on a crit, and more if it's relating to holy visions and or knows for trouble.
No, it is relating to Oracle.
Oh.
She just asked a question.
Oh.
If you don't mind, go check up what a crit does.
Oh.
Oh, I do love how occasionally rolls just throw us in different directions.
Critical. I know. You are stunned for 1d10 rounds. As a confusing vision overwhelms you. After receiving a vision, the GM will provide plus Oracle certain facts as answers that you interpret from the vision.
Perfect. Your Oracle is 1? Or is it?
I think
did
it's
you
just
get
1,
two?
but let me check.
One?
It is just 1.
It's just 1. As
For now.
you turn round and say, if you don't mind, and he looks at you and his eyes glow golden as he stumbles back. He has no eyes, clearly.
Uh-huh.
That is glowing from beneath his
Uh-huh.
thunk as he falls back. You are lost in a swirl of visions. I mean, if this was a cartoon, it'd be like heads going round your head. Ooh, ooh. But it's not. So it's much worse and much more confusing as a slew of different images overlapping themselves hit you. And almost all of them of women. Most of them blonde. One of them with red, white, and blue hair. And in your odd sense, because you have no real vision or any real sight anymore, but in your odd world, one thing is consistent with all of them as they're swirling and twisting. Their nose. And it's such an odd detail to focus in on, but it's the detail you focus in on. Your mind's eye is being taken away from its eyes. Don't look in its eyes. Don't look in its. And you can almost feel the lurching eye. Nose. They are, you are certain, all the same person. They are all the same person. He is here because of her. It's the same person. It's all part of the same set of linked events. Of that, you're certain. Is Sigmar actually a cockblock? You can't help but think that as you're looking down at him going, ah! What the fuck? Luitpold! What Luitpold?
I guess you mind.
Partly he is quite abstemious in his nature. As it's flash, it's all linked. He's here for a reason. They're all here for a reason. They're all linked. And because they're linked, they leave threads. Threads. Links, connections, they're all tied together with neat little knots. Everything connects to everything else. You don't, nor do you wish to, know why. Because to know the plan is to draw too close to the plan. But you know that the plan has chains keeping it in place. They can be followed. That being the case, you got yourself a certain piece of information. You can do yourself an intuition test. Well, before you do it, if you pass, you will be able to follow that thread to her most frequent location.
Ooh.
Her most frequented location. If you pass said test.
No pressure.
But you are also aware if you fail. So you'll know that she has one and you just can't quite grasp it. So your certain piece of information is that Nils being here was part of the great, not Nils, pardon me, Arthur being here was part of the great plan. Had to be. Presumably because of everything else that occurred. It's all, as you know from Aluminowith, fated. There's nothing that's not going to happen. But she was setting up parts of that years ago. Intuition test.
It's another crit.
Oh!
Oh my god! Wow. Sigmar is a cockblock.
So that's 7 successes.
Okay, so talent that allows you to do the are they good, are they bad, and then read over augury. That's the one. That's basically what you're using.
Yeah.
Okay, so check that up for a crit, please.
So a crit for augury.
Sigmar the cock block. No, it will lead to excess, you may. Be a good girl.
We spoke about this.
I'm a rattle.
Didn't we just talk about
Augury,
this?
a critical. The signs guide me. You correctly interpret signs in the surrounding world. You know if a target you see is good / friendly, bad / unfriendly, or neutral, and know up to augury reasons why. Alternatively, if there is a true route towards or through the target, you gain plus augury directions for doing so. And I have augury 3 times.
Wow.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Knew it was right to take extra augury.
Brilliant critical at the perfect time. As the father's sitting back there, you're looking on somewhat concerned because you know that he is in a position where he could be stabbed and literally no one could stop. Bang, bang. He doesn't even know us over there. Bang. Oh, look at his arms. Bang. And then looking back there, look at his glowing fucking eyes. What are you doing, Sigmar? As you shake your head and everything we've described, you are quite aware of, and you can feel it where you're lying. She's been by here. She has been by here. And with an absolute certainty, you know she was behind what happened to Nils. It was her. It wasn't any demon or anything else, although it was probably a demon.
Yeah.
But she was the one responsible for it. Well, that's a start. You don't know why. You don't know if it's just passing on the information. You don't know what was it. But she passed by here and she went that way. You know where she went.
See, I read the situation as Sigmar giving us like positive reinforcement that trying to sleep with somebody is good.
Yeah, we can absolutely.
You immediately thought of it and what happened? You got great information from
Yeah,
Sigmar.
exactly.
So you should be thinking about sex more often.
Yes.
And
The
clearly,
only answer.
us having open and honest dialogue is clearly a good thing.
Yeah.
As well.
Sigmar
Look at what we
very much
accomplished
approves.
when we work together.
Yeah, doing Sigmar shit.
Yeah.
All working together. As he doesn't so much flicker open his eyes, but you've seen this enough that you can tell the difference between when he's lost to it and when he started to be a human again. Sometimes he shakes, sometimes he's just, but he's beginning to move with a more human mechanical nature.
Yeah, she's
I'm
seen
guessing
him
the
quite
glow fades
bad.
as well. Yeah.
Are you alright?
Yeah. she's been here, and
You do have an answer to her question, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, you would rather she didn't.
yeah, I wouldn't, and I'll explain why.
Fine. But you owe me.
Absolutely.
Luitpold wingmans you may at some point.
Hundo P, I will set you up with a nice Sigmar-fearing boy, don't you worry. Or girl, whatever. All good.
Person.
So once we're away and definitely out of earshot of the forge, the girl that he spoke about, she's one of them. She was behind Nils.
Not just one of them. She's her.
She's her.
Mm.
She's her. And she was here. She was behind what happened to Nils. And she went that way.
And I don't want her sloppy seconds. I get it. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
Shame.
tainted taint and all that.
Poor boy.
But I think I know where she went.
We should tell him to get cleansed or something. Maybe he should go see the fire, the silver flame.
Might burn it off.
Yeah.
At your nose. Ow, ow.
Maybe he should see a shallion.
I've seen some warts.
Are we following?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
In an unexpected twist to what looked like it was winding up to be
I know.
a relatively nice little end. Luitpold and Tsuyumi find themselves winding their way through the wind up towards the main street. The very street that they first entered when they came to Middenheim went up towards the palace. They cross that, go down the other side into a part of town you've never been in before. We're moving over into another one of the high, over-the-edge slums, where level after level of building and bridge gets in the way of easy navigation. But you're not navigating. You're kind of following a trail.
I mean, we're also trying to pay attention to where we go so we can find our way back.
That would be nice. We'll do a navigation test soon. As you're making your way along and going down some steps, going down an alleyway, going around a corner, going down some more steps, going up some steps, along a street, passing by a busy pub, busy even at this early point in the afternoon. Down another one, passing by a thief's den. There's signs all over it, basically saying fuck off in a variety of different thief sign ways.
Well,
For anyone in the know, this is not somewhere that anyone wants to have others coming towards. But you pass that also. Ogres arguing over a body, two of them. And they're arguing by bellowing in each other's face. Holding on to either end of it. I think it's fair to say we've gone past the nice part of town. Down some more steps. Past a small square with a woman playing a fiddle. Around her, bunch of kids. And a Sigmarite priest looking on, shaking his head. He's standing on what you presume is his equivalent of a soapbox. And he's gone past the point of even caring to proselytize about what he thinks is inappropriate behavior. Fiddling, apparently. Because it's foot stabbing. And in many respects, that is testament to the very concerns that you have. Someone who preaches one thing and it turns into a temptation because it's something they can't do. And by making it something they can't do, that happens. And you can't help but feel it. You can feel it, that foot tapping as you go past. You've got things to do. This isn't the right time to grab some priest of Sigmar just shaken by the lapels. Well, the high collar.
Shaken by his gorget.
Indeed. And explain to him about the potential dangers, because they are invisible dangers. You will sound like a lunatic. There is no danger here, really, and attempting to express something that is actually relatively deep in thought. It's quite theoretical. It's almost philosophical. Far beyond your average Sigmarite priest who's possibly not even a proper Sigmarite. As you pass by that, cross over the square. Off to the sides, you can see up high a garden of some sort and trees hanging over. Unexpected in this part of town, but perhaps there's a more salubrious part up above. You pass by that and eventually find yourself stopping. You were so certain with your movements, and then you're just suddenly knocked. It's like you've lost the trail. You may who's been popping along afterwards, half expecting some form of, are we there yet? What's happening? I don't know. I think she came this way. I'm pretty sure she came this way. The certainty is clear. And then it stops off. And for a brief moment, you're not sure at all. And that's because you've realized the obvious. You're here.
You have reached your destination.
You have managed to sat-nav your way across town by Sigmar vision and have arrived at the base of a townhouse with 1, 2, 3 levels, set stairs on the outside that leads to the 3rd level. And that is where she has been most often in the city of Middenheim. Just up there. Okay, what do you do with that piece of knowledge? It's taken you across Middenheim, but there is that small little, well, you know. She's powerful. Fear.
Yeah.
Bounced off with just human, which is also true. You know that Elric, all you need to do is stab him in the chest and he's dead. Don't do that and he burns you to a cinder. That would be bad. He summons a big, huge, fiery sword. Uh-oh. And then all the fireballs go everywhere. And everyone cries.
More the thing Elemental did with all the stabbing. That's what we need to do.
Thoughts. Stop them from being able to talk. She explained it out at the time and went from sounding mental to sounding certain. So we have a potentially extremely dangerous place, while simultaneously, if she's not here, if there's no one here, it's not dangerous at all.
Ume, realizing that they've arrived, will pull Luitpold into somewhere slightly less obvious.
Not difficult. We are in a dingy street. Altdorf, which is what you're used to, is open. Even though it might have very tall buildings, it's nevertheless all open. Here, it's often level upon level and overhanging levels, and it's often very, very dark. And in this particular part, we're right over the edge of the city. So if you're looking at the city from the outside, it's one of those many layers of street that sort of crisscross before reaching the main city itself at the top. You're right over the edge down in these, and you've got a relatively impressive view that just extends outwards on that side, while everything else is just... There's a small part of you that feels like if you were picked up and thrown, you might just... But it's really quite far. That's not happening, but you can't help but imagine it. I can bound like a fox. Get that out my head.
Wait,
cat.
bird
Like
wings.
a cat.
Bird wings.
Fly like a flying cat.
Yes.
Big tail.
But yeah, she'll pull him into the shadows and go, do you think you could tell if she's in from here? Like if you concentrated?
I could try and listen.
Do your self-perception test.
And obviously you will have a look as well, but
so that's 7 successes.
7 successes is pretty freaking decent.
Acute sense hearing and divination helps with it as well. So
Yeah. Okay, so passing innocently in front of the building, passing back again, coming back into the shadows. Think there might be someone up there. It's difficult to tell. There's definitely someone on the 2nd floor. You can hear them moving around. On the top, difficult because you're not sure they're moving much. But you think there might be someone up there. You think you can hear something. The window is open, but it's 3rd floor, shuttered open. The steps are on the outside, and that's not on the same side as the front window. So the steps go into the side of the building. And you think you can hear something from coming in there. So you're going to guess that there is somebody in there.
Do you want to risk it?
I don't know. I mean, it could be a great opportunity to strike while she's not expecting it. It could also get us wiped out.
Could.
You don't have any like fire bombs or anything on you, do you?
Actually, I do have oil and like stuff like that I made into.
But probably nothing we could
Containers.
accurately throw into a third floor window.
It would be much more useful if you had Nils with you.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be. I think I have a firework still. With.
I mean, we could flush her out, but that would potentially put her on edge, right?
She might already be on edge because we told the guy that they were after her. I don't know. We could try and sneak in as well.
We could.
The Ranelagh route.
Yeah.
It's not all about Sigmar.
Yeah.
The thing is, if we're there and she is there or other people, I can't take the first step. I don't know if I've ever made it clear. I'm only supposed to be doing self-defense. So unless we want to prank her, I'm not going to be very helpful.
I mean, it's the ultimate prank.
You're dead now.
Joke's on you. I decapitated you.
Yeah, now.
I mean, a great prank would be, somehow making her unable to talk. Have you got any way you could prank her like that?
Slit her throat. The best prank ever.
I mean, like, potentially, if you could get up to her without being noticed and, like, just shove something in her mouth so she can't talk.
If only you had Arthur.
Dude.
I just meant it's a bit of muscle. Maybe that requires exactly the same response. But anyway.
We can.
I mean, it certainly feels like if you can, under your divine aegis, sneak us in.
Yes.
Then sneaking in and trying to get more information, certainly.
Yes.
Because it may be that we get up there and she's not there, and then we can find something out. Or we get up and she is there, and I can strike quickly. Or I didn't even realise how appropriate that was at that moment. I don't think you've been a good influence on me. Or we sound like there's a lot of people in there, and we very stealthily beat a tactical retreat.
What if there's other people, but not that many of them? Because once we get there, we're not going to be able to speak to each other. Are you going to try and capture one of them and get more information? Are we leaving if it's not her?
That's a good question.
Are we just going through her stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like, if she's not there and there's no one there, then we go through her stuff. If she's not there and there's someone else there, then I think we leave, because then she won't know that we've been there and we still have the knowledge of where her base is without her knowing that we know that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If we were to, like, attack someone else there or have a fight in there without her being there, without the risk of her knowing that we know where her location isn't offset by the reward if the reward is not taking her off the board.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In that case, I will do, I don't know, I can't check if it works really, but act normally, don't sneak around, and people just move out of your way. It's not like you don't exist, but like just don't like just walk.
Just walk. All right.
There's some people around. Maybe check if they seem to be noticing us, but there's no real way of checking that it's working.
Do we notice each other?
Often. She does. Don't know.
And I won't be able to talk to you to tell you that it's work.
So should I hold on to you?
Yeah. I mean, I need to touch you to do the prayer anyway, so just don't let go.
Yeah, if I just hold on to your shoulder like we have been, and then
if I start talking, we've been made.
Okay. Perfect.
You ain't seen me.
You ain't seen me. Oh, I haven't done this in so long. Ronald, please be nice.
Fumble.
That's 3, 4, 5 successes.
More than enough, and that's enough to pull Luitpold underneath as well.
This is very exciting. I've never been part of this before.
As
Clank, 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 clank.
as you take a deep breath and cross your fingers and remember the prayer. Trying to pluck the most appropriate one for the situation. Ah, yes. When Ronald slipped into the tents to steal the heart of the awaiting goddess. You've no idea what the rest of the tale is. It's just a simple prayer, a very short one at that. Takes only about 5, 6 heartbeats to say. But Ronald slipped in to steal her heart. And she succeeded. As you step forward, not entirely convinced that you've succeeded, not entirely convinced that Ronald is with you. You never can be certain, because the thing is that people don't do this. Oh, no, you're not there. People just continue on with their business. And if you do something like that, can you see me? That immediately breaks it.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it.
And it's one giant fake it till you make it. It's one of those ones that's just not flashy. It's the opposite of Father Luitpold, the king of flashy prayers.
But perversely, like, acting within the remit of the prayer is quite good for Father Luitpold, because he just has to confidently walk like he's where he's supposed to be, which is kind of what Sigmarites do anywhere in the Empire.
It's his natural state
This
of
is
being.
all my house. You are all in my domain. You will get
As
out of
you-
my way.
Confidently make your way up the stairs without any sure sense that no one's going to pay attention to you at all as you reach the door. It's a door.
It's a door.
What are we doing with the door?
We're just opening the door.
It opens. And we are in. As you look around, we are in a small hall that leads off. There's a entrance over to your left-hand side. At the far 1, 2, 3 doors, and a door at the very far side as well. Where are you going?
Well, we think she's up,
Yeah, we think
so we're gonna go up.
No stairs, just straight ahead.
Well,
Can
Doors.
does Luitpold's spatial awareness give him any indication of where the stairs might be?
There are none. You're on the top floor.
Oh no!
You've gone up, and you're on the top floor. Well, you've gone on the stairs
oh,
on the outside.
Oh, right,
on the
okay.
outside.
You've come in to the top floor.
Okay.
There is no other way to go. You're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch!
Not bad.
I thought we were in one of those magic trap houses
No,
again.
we're not in a magic trap house. We're fine.
Okay.
So
But Luitpold can hear, now that we're up and the door clicks behind you. It's off in that direction. They're off in that direction. So they're in one of the rooms up ahead. You reckon?
Cool.
You don't know that, though.
well, he'll sort of squeeze her shoulder slightly and sort of nudge her in that sort of direction.
That will
Okay.
be enough.
Cool. In the meantime, just having a look around to see what's
So,
out.
door off to your right and hand side immediately. We're passing by that.
Can she stop to listen at the door?
Yes.
I mean, she's not there. She has normal hearing.
I mean, Luitpold will also have a listen.
It's the pair of you. Nothing.
Okay. Is there a keyhole?
No, just the door.
Okay. Well,
No lock on it.
she'll just try it.
And inside the gloom, got a window, bottly glass type window. So a small amount of haze comes in. It's enough for you to see. As your eyes quickly adjust, and this is some form of bedchamber.
But empty.
Oh no, it's filled with people's stuff. There's clothes lying on
Sure,
the floor in one corner. There's a dressing table. Let's call it that. It's more just a table covered in clothes. But we could call it a dressing table if we're being charitable. Whoever lives here is not tidy. Also worthy of note is that there are 2 swords leaning in the opposite corner, suggesting this is someone who is used to fighting. Oh, a scabbard over there as your eyes are adjusting further. The bed's a bit skanky. And Yeah, it just looks like you would guess, looking at the clothes, this is probably the chamber of a man who is used to fighting.
Do the swords look like the ones from those two really like creepy dudes that hit Gerhardt in Castor Lieberung's house?
Oh my goodness. Far too specific to be certain. They were
Okay.
yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
Or the clothes on the floor, like
Yeah. There is nothing that immediately screams that, but it doesn't mean it's not.
cool. Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like there's anything super useful, so we'll move on. But she won't close the door fully in case they need a quick step aside, so to say.
Mm-hmm. The next one is to your left-hand side and is a gap. Okay, that leads into presumably some sort of space. Doors continue off on the 1, 2 there, and 1 there, and 1 directly ahead. It's quite a number in here.
I think at this point we might as well go for what we came here for. There's too many doors.
Yeah.
So she's just going to let Luitpold squeeze her shoulder when they're at the right one.
Okay, so it's a door at the right-hand side. It's about halfway down the corridor. And there, yeah, there's somebody in there. Do yourself a perception test, please, Luitpold.
7 successes again.
Heavy, male, you guess, or a very big woman. Human, you think. You can actually catch the edge of his heartbeat. As you sit and you just listen, he's rustling, he's doing something there on the other side. You're not sure what. He's moving, but you don't think he's reading because there's no flutter of paper. So maybe he's just looking at something or out a window or something, but he's in there. It's a man. And with 7 successes, probably the only one in this building on this level. So your quarry is unlikely to be here, you think, unless she is a very big she or a man.
Unless she is the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
I mean, she had all those different faces in his vision, right?
But all female.
All female.
Yeah, every single last one of them, and all with the same nose.
So suggesting it was disguises and glamours
Yeah.
rather than full-on shapeshifting.
100%. That.
I mean, I guess he'll just squeeze and just tug slightly away to suggest that she's not there. And then we're back into Yume's hands in terms of whether we're going to explore other rooms or not.
I think perhaps a couple more doors won't hurt.
Well, so you passed one door, you passed the gap, which you got an opportunity to see into, I suppose. You can see that across that gap, there's another door. It goes around the corner. You didn't go in there, so you're not quite sure. There's no candles, so you're living by the single light from the crack from behind. It's dark. In your case, you're fine. But for you, this is dark. You're fumbling around the darkness. You've done this more than once.
Sure.
You're just moving slowly, being careful. There's also a door on the opposite side and another couple of doors on the opposite side over there and another one at the end. So there's lots of potential routes out of here. There could be anything in here that could be of use, but you're pretty convinced, though, most usefully, that there's only one person here in that room, meaning that you might have free reign everywhere else.
Can Luitpold just, because, pointing his hand helps him focus slightly. He just would like to feel around to make sure that there isn't anything bad in here.
Do yourself a perception test, please.
Perception.
Perception for this one.
It's a pass, it's not great. 3 successes.
Fine.
Okay. I think we're going to try the door all the way at the end first and work our way back.
Yeah, further
Okay.
away, less
Yeah.
room
So
to make
you
noise.
pass by another door on that side, going ahead, another couple of doors, and then a door directly in front of you. You reach that door and carefully open up. It's a relatively small room, runs along you think probably the length of the building. You can feel the echo from the outside of it. Cute sense, ridiculous. That helps. It smells musty, like somebody has been living in here. It's quite clearly a small bedroom. This room does not have anything that immediately jumps out of you as potentially exciting beyond, unless you find a dirty bed exciting, and a table with nothing on it exciting, and a chair. Oh, and a small chest.
That's it.
You're moving over, and 7 whole coppers. And a little iron ring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's an iron ring and 7 whole coppers. Leaving or taking?
I almost feel bad taking them, to be honest.
I mean, they're either cultists or working with cultists, right?
That's true. I'll take the
or
money.
have been tricked by cultists, I suppose. But
I'll take the money.
you are
Take the
running,
money.
right? Like this, you're on like a pilgrimage, right?
Yeah.
This is like an urban pilgrimage for you.
Cool. I'll keep track of the money and I steal.
Okay, grab those. Tap them away. Okay, so behind you, 2 doors on opposite sides. Another 2 doors further along, one of which you think there's somebody behind. I'm going down another door, then the gap, and then the door that you've already been through.
Try and peek through the next doors as we come out. Those both on both sides were empty.
Oh, you can know what this room is already. Drops. This is where they are clearly relieving themselves. You can smell it almost instantly. It's probably just buckets that they throw out and used buckets of that. Yeah, it's not very nice, and it's also not a particularly deep room. So over on the opposite side, if you wish.
Yeah.
Now, as we're doing this, obviously, Luitpold goes without saying is on edge in terms of listening.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, he's listening for activity from the room where we know the guy is, and activity from the way in. Like, for instance, I don't know, the footsteps of an angry sounding woman.
That
type of thing.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So opposite.
Yes.
Sausage. You can smell it almost instantly as soft light spills across a poorly stocked kitchen, and it's got a heavy table, it's got small sides, it's got what is clearly a stove that they use to cook in. It's currently not lit. It's got 2 strings of sausages hanging down, bringing you back lovely fond memories of sausages from the streams.
No. No, not going anywhere near sausages in the cultist.
Indeed, and
Sigmar
another
would
door over on the opposite wall to where you're coming in, over in your left-hand side, that goes deeper in, and you presume probably goes into the same room that the other door down the corridor goes into. You would presume. You might be incorrect, though there could be rooms in between.
Yeah. Okay. Close that as well.
Mhm.
Keep going. So now there's the door with the person and then the little side bit, right? Try the side bit.
Okay, so you've got the same door on the same side that you were just on, or the one that's on the opposite side? Just to make sure. So that would be, if you go into the next one, that's the one that might connect to the room you've just been in, or you've got one door on the other side that's past the door where you reckon someone's in.
The one that connects probably just like a pantry or something. But why would they have 2 doors? We'll try it.
Okay, so going up to that door, or up, a shaft of light spills across a pretty big bed. There's apparently a bedroom straight through to the kitchens.
Okay.
Who'd have thought? There is a large rug sitting down on the floor over there. Over on that side, a table and a pile of papers. On the opposite wall, there's a bookcase, a relatively rare sight in and of itself, with a variety of books, some of which are fallen down. There's several goblets also on the table, one of which is knocked over. There's some dried wine sitting down on the slats of the wooden floor. This is a big room. It's the biggest that you've seen so far, significantly larger than, say, the kitchen in an order of almost 4 times. It's a big space. And that's what's presented there. Is there any other doors out? Looking over on the opposite wall, 1 door leading out.
Which is the one that goes into the kitchen?
Sorry, 2 doors leading out. Beyond the one that you know already.
Yeah, okay.
So, like an idiot, I presumed you knew that one was there already. And the one on the other side.
Okay. Quick scan of the bookshelf and the letters and stuff.
Okay, so
I mean, Luitpold will not be much use.
Yeah,
in this,
that's
unless
true.
any of them happen to be
So-
like holy,
Yeah, exactly.
or unholy.
He just basically can't move. As you go, got books running over. Interesting, a variety of so some of them are in classical, not ideal for you.
Okay.
So
Damn it.
a host of titles, but in and of itself, that tells you something
Uh-huh.
because classical comes hand in hand with academic.
Uh-huh. Where's Gerhardt when you need him?
Yeah, quite. So a host of, let's just call them generic academic books. Some of them are in Reichspiel though, and you can trace down some titles. And they are mostly historical books, interestingly. No, that one there's a botanical book about flowers. Interesting. And yeah, these books seem to be all pretty mundane. But you've seen this before. No, they're pretty mundane. Check a couple of them just to be sure. Shake a couple just to be sure that none of them are
Touch
showing.
the back of the book.
Yeah, they all appear to be relatively recently looked at because none of them are covered in dust. Okay, but these are books that are mundane, academic books, providing one presume mostly information about a variety of topics.
All right. What about the letters?
That's a very different thing.
Ah.
So, the letters. There are two types.
Okay.
There is one type, which is this large pile of letters. And then there's the other type, which refer to this large pile of letters. This one, it's a love letter.
Okay.
So is this one. So is this one. Not the best love letters. I mean, they've got a certain sincerity to them.
Uh-huh.
Direct sincerity.
Sure, that does a
As
lot.
It does.
Uh-huh.
And they're not florid. They're certainly not steeped in metaphor. And as we go through, number 9 is pretty direct about what they were doing the previous evening. His language is blunt. It's fascinating, though, in a sort of, oh, okay, the flick, flick, flick. Okay. Number 15 is the worry.
Mm-hmm.
We can't let Boris find out about us. It says. You should have told me you were seeing him.
Okay.
Ooh. Ooh. Who?
Yeah, like, are any of these signed?
No, not a single one of them.
Why do people never sign their letters? Just rude.
But it's enough to be of interest. Do you have the all-important Gerhardt's talent? Speed reader.
I do not have speed.
This is going to take time then. There is a side possibility that someone might come home. Let's see. Dice of Doom, please. Everybody roll 1d10. Tell me what you roll.
4.
Can I use a fortune point?
I mean, you can. I mean, what's the number?
Well, it's an 8.
So
So
that's fine, as long we're just looking for doubles here. I have a 1,
okay.
4.
and you've got an 8.
I got an 8.
We're good.
That's
If you
fine.
wish to modify it off the 8, you can do so. You can take it with one fortune point. We'll just take it down to a 7 or up to a 9, your preference.
I'm gonna use one to put it to a 7.
Sounds good to me.
Oh my god!
You're just
I've
looking at
seen how many fortune points you've got. Wow!
Almost like she's a Ranaldon cultist.
Yes. I'm glad you're on my side.
There is a tense moment when the chap clearly gets up from where he is, and you're like, moves around there, gets out of the room, goes along the corridor, goes into the room, and pisses. Oh, says the man who's pissing. And then, having done this, moves out. You reckon he's pretty big. Not necessarily someone that you'd like to encounter. You wonder if he might actually be the sword guy. There's swords in that
That's
room.
kind of my assumption, yeah.
As he goes back into the other room. And then you hear, as the door shuts. As you start working your way through the letters. So, let's give an overall picture.
Uh-huh.
We have someone here who is a not particularly well-spoken, hopeless romantic. But I am going to modify the well-spoken part. He is well spoken in terms of he has a broad vocabulary. He just does not frame it particularly well. He's clearly uncomfortable using words in this fashion.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
Inexperienced, maybe.
He has very good handwriting. Very good. He can't write poetry. He tries. He is clearly deeply infatuated and also clearly not concerned at all that she's seeing Boris after the initial concerns about her seeing Boris. You find out her name. All the rest of them didn't have it, but on one, he calls her out specifically, Emmanuel.
That rings a bell. And not because of Nacht. Like, I feel like it's come up in Middenheim. But
very possibly. I'm not telling you. However,
my notes are in disarray.
my mind
mine
is
are
in
in
disarray. I wish I could do Control F.
I'm sorry to say that there is another piece of information that perhaps provides some context as to who did this. You can't come up to see me for the next 3 days. And the reason why explains possibly everything. My den father is causing problems. I think he is aware that you've been visiting. Immediately making it clear who it is. You've got letters from Ulrich. Whoever's here has letters written from Ulrich to what is almost certainly, without doubt, a lover. Which is bad for the cult of Ulrich. And to make it worse, the Emmanuel that he is seeing is also a lover of thee. Probably the lover of the Graf. And that is what you find inside the cultists' chambers. They have somehow secured these letters for whatever scheme that they have.
And you said the other letters refer to these letters.
Yeah, so what does the other letter say? Well done, it says. Bring them. Oh,
Schlagen.
Emmanuel Schlagen.
One of the ladies.
Nice. I didn't find that evidence. What I did find is validation from before. Ulrich's twin is she who thirsts. Theory confirmed. So
Perfect. So you definitely have it.
Yeah.
I couldn't recall, I'll be honest.
We had theorized it, and in the flashback, it got confirmed.
There we go.
Killed
So-
Lupus.
Lupus.
Talisman was to commemorate that.
Mhm. So, that's a thing. The note says, bring it on the 8th day.
Like tomorrow.
Like possibly, if it's the 8th day of the carnival, tomorrow. And underneath it, it's got Limbar, Argue, to Zinch.
Sometimes not being able to see is quite useful.
Yeah, you've read that. Do yourself a cool test, please.
Yay. What's my cool?
As the whispers.
I'm assuming we're not
No, you're not.
taking a
You're,
time.
you're very tense.
In which case, I am.
It's not just time, it's, yeah.
Am I resisting nobles?
No.
Okay.
No. Good try.
I mean, from a certain point of view.
I will reroll.
Give that one a re-roll. Luck point number 44.
Oh,
Is that a fumble?
no,
it's just the worst fail.
Just the worst fail. Yay.
Well done. As your eyes alight upon the words,
No 8s, though.
and
No,
they
it's
almost crawl in front of you. I mean, they don't. It's a little bit like when you're really, really, really tired and you're looking at something, you can't quite concentrate properly, and it's almost like the letters are moving. But they're not. I mean, they're not. Look at them. You look at them clearly, they're not moving at all. But aren't they? Aren't they? 1 corruption point.
Oh,
Not that you know that.
yeah, of course.
Why are you shaking your fist at me?
You
Because
can't read
you
it.
can't read it.
You got off scot-free. And she had to read it.
Wow. Wow.
I'm getting uncomfortably close to my
In
limit.
fact, I'm quite happy to say no, you are going to be, given that you have holy visions, don't you?
Yes.
So yes, the last word makes you deeply uncomfortable. Deeply. Well of your stomach uncomfortable. Almost like you're peering directly at the very heart of a web. Close that one off, put it down.
No.
So you have got yourself a pile of love letters from R. Ulrich to what you presume is Emanuel Schlagen, which would clearly out him as breaking his vow and also potentially, given the tone of what they say regarding Boris, out him as also betraying Boris and not caring. And then both continuing on.
And when it says bring it on the 8th, does
Yes,
it?
8th day.
Bring it on the 8th day.
That's what you've written now.
Yes. But then I meant like the letter.
You
Was
presume
it it or them?
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 Yeah.
If I said it was supposed to be
Yeah.
them. My fault.
Yeah.
In which case we shall steal the letters.
I couldn't tell you that
No, because you
because I
don't
can't
wanna
talk,
break.
but I was absolutely hoping you would reach that conclusion. This could potentially be a real thorn in whatever they're planning. I don't know what they're planning to do with this.
But they're not going to do
But
it now.
stopping them from doing it, awesome.
So the question is, now you've been here for quite some time,
Uh-huh.
checking through it, and you've decided this is worth taking. You've taken it. Are you going for leaving, given that you know you've been here for a long time? Or are you going to continue your exploration?
You are aware that Ume can lip read.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Once he's talked about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'll let that go. Yeah, I mean, you've been traveling together for a good 6
Yeah.
months. That seems fair.
And I've said it out loud a few times. So if you
In which
wish,
case, I apologise for not remembering. But
no, that's okay.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's good.
So if you wish to give your opinion, one-sidedly can say things. I think.
Why not do a quick intuition roll as to determine the danger you may or may not be in concerning your current course?
nice. I like that.
Because that's what the very talent is for. And see what it suggests.
It suggests 6 successes.
It suggests you're pushing your luck
Yeah.
Okay, let's get at it.
and you're feeling really antsy.
Okay. Well, I was kind of veering towards that
Yeah.
anyway, so let's go.
Okay.
Obviously, Luitpold does not know what's in these letters yet either. I've just been standing here for ages while you've been like riffling through the paper going, it's getting really tense. Oh, she's taking those letters. They must be important.
More tense, and more tense, and more tense, and then you're out of there.
You almost didn't go into this room.
On the outside, free of the need to be quiet, it still feels odd. Particularly odd because as you get down to the bottom of the stairs, a man literally runs straight into you. Well, he saw you, right? Well, he didn't. He ran into you.
Uh-huh.
You're not even sure your blessing succeeded. Or didn't it? You've no idea. Had it run out? Who can be certain? What is certain is you got hit and you're like, oh, as he's like, well, I'm all for didn't even manage to say anything coherent as he makes his way on.
It's probably why he hit it, because he can't perceive, So.
That must be it.
Yeah.
As you pass
I've
your way
also been in
over
there for quite a long time.
and regroup in your quiet little alleyway over on the side, where she can then say that she has got.
I mean, should we destroy them immediately? Or should we take them back?
Do you give them to our Ulrich?
Oh, bargaining.
Take him back.
Well, if anyone could get us to see Boris,
Well, I was more going to say if anyone was going to manage to get Luitpold in to see the Silver Flame.
I don't know if you wanna, but
That's a fair point. I probably don't
Maybe
want
do
to.
that after.
Maybe after. Yeah. But if he's on good terms with us, though,
But then how do you get to someone like our Ulrich?
for the brothel, we know who he is.
I I mean, if this is how we're going to end our side stream, it's not what I would have expected.
Shall we? I don't think he's gonna like seeing me.
You've got a couple of options. Let's make sure that we lay them out so that you can make a good decision based on the information that you have. Our Ulrich is clearly a very important figure, and a figure who would obviously also not like those letters to be seen. Those letters presumably were not taken from him. They were probably taken from her. Which means he doesn't know, one presumes, the extraordinary danger he might be in. It's also worth noting that they also show a massive lapse in judgment and a prolonged lapse in judgment. Because these are going on for some time. It's also worth noting, though, that he is quite clearly, given the words, somewhat of a hopeless romantic. And much of it is, it's just, oh, bless.
Mm.
Oh, bless.
Do we just have his letters to her?
Yes.
We don't have her letters back?
Correct.
Is it possible that she is posing as Emmanuel Sagan?
Maybe. We've never seen her.
Given the well done in the note,
No.
probably not,
No.
because they were secured.
Yeah.
So it suggests that they have been
Yeah.
secured and someone has sent a note over to say, yes, you've got them, bloody well done, take them over on the 8th night, we're going to use them. So whatever they're going to use them for is clearly not going to be good for the parties concerned.
No.
Really not good for the parties concerned. So we know that. We know we've got our Ulrich, a figure who can be in his own way quite terrifying. And a figure who is going to be very difficult to get towards. We have two obvious routes to him. Route number one is the open route. Bang, bang, bang. I've arrived in the temple. Take me to our Ulrich, please. Almost certain to fail. Because you don't just get to go and speak to our Ulrich just because you have to go by, even if you're holding letters that he'd want to see, because you don't really want to be showing those letters to anyone.
We could probably cause enough of a scene that we get seen by somebody serious, but that might be because of the trap, which is probably also part of this whole chain. This is maybe why that temple's been locked up so that I can't go, so that we can't go to thwart their plan that they're doing inside the temple.
Boom. Okay, so...
And that's probably also why... So they're not out for him in the Temple of Sigmar. It's not about him, but it's that he might uncover what they are up to, and he needs to be kept out from there. It's not about killing Luitpold. It's about keeping Luitpold out, so we can't stop whatever else it is they are doing.
So, having concluded all of that, you then have route number two, which is the back door. Back door comes with its own problems. And yes, I choose my language carefully.
The spread eagle.
The spread eagle,
nice.
The back door of the spread eagle, where there are going to be, let's say, at least two obvious potential problems. Number one is getting into it, because getting into that back door is probably going to involve having to inveigle your way into there somehow, plus persuade whoever is there to let you through, and then getting past what's almost certainly going to be the guards on the inside of there, and then also hoping that when you reach the other end, it's where our Ulrich is. And he's not somewhere else, and you don't just have to camp in there.
Hiding our Ulrich room. Yeah.
With potentially a bunch of unconscious Ulrichans who would never let you be there, so you've had to make them unconscious now. Just sitting there. Yeah, it's potentially a very dangerous plan. Because we all know what Ulrichans are like. They hit first, they ask questions after, and they very rarely actually engage with, for example, chat. I really need to do this because you're in the place you shouldn't be. Let's have a fight. That's not necessarily a good way through. So getting to our Ulrich is potentially difficult. Beyond that, let's lay out the more, not our Ulrich, but other stuff. You could take them just back, show them everyone else, whatever you want to do there. You could destroy them. You could take another route, which you haven't brought up as a potential.
I mean, one option would be to get him to the princess.
And the
to
princess seems
Nice
to
one.
have a way of getting letters to him.
To
So
our Ulrich, yeah.
Yeah, quite. So we have...
So we either get them to the princess or we get news of them to the princess.
Yeah, quite. There is, I think, given your unique circumstances, one other conclusion that I think you would probably arrive at, which may lead you to take a different choice as well. And that's that they are clearly wanted for something. Clearly.
You know what we should have done? Is if we had time, which we don't, but if we had time, we should have written a bunch of boring, mundane letters
Dun,
and
dun.
left them there.
Yeah.
If only.
Because they might not have looked at them. They might have just
Passed them over.
ha! And it'd be like, oh, it's a bill of lading. So somebody ordered like 20
Store
barrels of
hire
ale. I
transit?
don't like.
What?
Suck it, Cinch.
Do a cool test, please.
Oh no!
I shouldn't have said.
No, you shouldn't have said that. Don't even joke about it.
Can I reroll?
Yes.
Why is my cool so low?
Oh dear! And that's exactly what you rolled when you rerolled last time as well.
Yeah.
Take a corruption point.
Oh god!
And that was said out of time. I will make that clear. Just to make sure we're clear, that was said out
Yeah.
of time. So,
Question.
yes,
I'm at my corruption limit.
you're fine until you pass it.
Okay.
God,
Is the pure
so close.
soul talent in your career?
I don't think so.
I will check it out after.
Okay.
If it is, I would highly recommend prioritizing
Boost
your
up
XP
that limit.
into taking that talent multiple times, and maybe also put up your willpower.
I don't think I can
Yeah,
in my
well,
current.
Ranelton's-
I mean, you can. I could teach you. It costs a lot.
Teaching. Have you got enough leadership?
But yeah, leadership 20, baby.
Check the rules. Oh, nice. Check the rules for that after. Forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something about this. Yes.
Idea. Yeah.
It's glad I remembered. This is clearly wanted for something. Clearly, they can't use it if it's destroyed. It's as blunt as that. And not destroying it means that you may be the vehicle through which they
Yeah.
intend it to be carried.
Yeah.
And Luitpold is, I think, by this point, more than paranoid enough
Yeah.
to conclude that as a potential.
That maybe we were meant to find it and do something
Indeed.
with it.
And I will say one other thing, which I won't. Intelligence test for both of you. 'Cause
Intelligence?
Either of you.
Not a lore?
It's not a lore. This is intelligence.
Oh, 4 successes.
Nice.
94.
Yeah, Luitpold, you're not with Alaminowith.
You can be scried.
Yeah,
These can be scried.
these can be
You need
scried.
to destroy them.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you've been scried, but you can be, which means that whatever you're doing right now will potentially be known if someone looks into it.
And we can be followed.
Yep,
I think we should destroy them. I think we should destroy them right now.
because then they can't trace you down.
Yeah.
Then, well, they can, but it won't make any difference because
it'll
they'll be
be too
gone.
late.
Yeah.
We'll have struck a blow. And if we die, we've still done something good.
Okay, how do we intend to destroy it?
I mean,
Fine.
fire would be the obvious one. I have got flint and tinder. Is there?
It's mostly parchment, doesn't light up very well. You'd be far better going to say an inn because it's
Yeah.
made of
Yeah.
stretch.
It depends how sketchy this is. Is it sketchy enough that, like in Hollywood movies, there's like a bunch of hobos standing around like a barrel with a fire in it?
There is not. Go and find yourself a less than salubrious inn. Seems to be your best option. Right, so we passed a couple of places you don't think are terrible. I would like a navigation test first.
Sure thing.
And that will be from whomever is going to be doing the navigating. In fact, I'm going to do it for both of you. You can decide how well you did. What's your individual navigation?
So my navigation is 70, and I have the
Holy
orientation
shitballs.
talent, and
Holy
I also
shitballs.
have Lord
And your
Midnight.
navigation is?
53.
So you've got a choice. Who do you wish to believe? You're quite convinced that he's wrong. You're quite convinced you could lead yourself back to not just here, but to anywhere in Middenheim. You're certain.
I mean, that level of confidence immediately makes me doubt myself.
Yep.
But also, you're the one who knows his way around.
Yeah, and the silver flame's up there, and I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
navigate by it, and yeah.
Yeah.
The Cow's Lip doesn't look like the best tavern you've ever seen, but it does have a blazing hearth even in summer.
Nice.
It's because it's right down deep in the shadows, and the sun never really hits this part very well, blocked by other buildings as it is, and it always has a flame burning away. Above it, you can see written in Reichspiel. You can read it. The Eternal Flame. You presume they're attempting to say eternal,
Nice.
but it's the Eternal Flame. And it's more than big enough to burn through parchment.
Nice.
A drink later,
Yeah. I'll get these.
Drop yourself 4 pence away. Nice cheap drinks. The beer is watered down and
a tip for the person as well.
Perfect.
We'll put an extra one in there.
Thanks, love. And we burnt the love letters.
And the other letter.
Damn those crits.
And the other letter.
I don't
The
think.
letter with the bad word in it.
Oh yeah, you're still holding it.
Yeah, burn that too.
Am I?
Yeah.
Come on, then I'll.
Cool test.
Oh, fuck. Can you help me with
Nope.
that?
Okay, I will say, I just said burn it. Can I give her a leadership test that might give her advantage?
I'll let that one go.
Yay!
Nice stern tone. I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah?
Yep.
Tell me what to
Advantage
do,
over.
Father.
Help me, Father. Help.
Burn it. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm re-rolling that. Oh! 4 successes.
Hey!
My cool is not that bad. It's 46. Like.
You hold it. And for a brief moment you think destroying this is bad. It's like the center of the web. This is like some sort of proof. And your brain isn't landing on anything that makes sense here.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a nice clear. Because this, we could use this for. It's just, it means something. It's useful proof.
Pepe Silva.
Pepe Silva. As you allow your rational brain to just override the feeling. This is nothing. It's just some scrawled nothing. It's like
Let's not breathe in the smoke.
of colour
Time to go.
rises from the smoke.
Let's go. Time to go. We finished our beers now.
Yeah,
Ugh.
as it's gone. You have been in sermons in Altdorf, where you were dragged up to the Grand Cathedral by your parents to listen to them drone in some foreign language you could barely understand. And you remember trying to pick apart what they were saying and the number of times that on one of the greater festivals they would say that you must never, obviously. And I'm going to paraphrase heavily because you weren't quite sure what they were saying half the time anyway. But you were certain they were saying there are words and deeds you cannot ever do because they will mark you. And you couldn't help but think bullshit. But there is nothing like seeing the word that was written down on that bit of parchment holding power by its mere existence. It's interesting, horrifying, terrifying that just writing it down. Yeah, it's good to get out of there. But it's burnt. And according to Elric, that's a good thing. You can burn this shit. Admittedly, Elric does think that's a good way of resolving most problems. But
it is one of those places where like Luitpold and Elric, the Venn diagram very much overlaps. Burning chaos stuff, yes, that's what we should do.
And later in the day as we are, I think that's a perfect time for us to, having resolved an unexpected plot point.
Just, I'm very
nice
proud of
one. A beautiful combination of sneaky, seeriness, plopping together, and cock blocking like mad, taking you back.
And just to be clear, it wasn't an objection in principle. It was that where he's been.
Yeah, where he's been.
Maybe send him a letter and be like, you should get checked out.
How many do you have? And on that lovely note, we will bring this lovely tale of Middenheim to a close, where both Ume and Luitpold happened upon not just one of their side plots, but potentially a key one to the city as a whole. Plus, cock blocked!